Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for, well, it is still a live reaction and a player ratings live stream, but it's not straight after the game because there was no way to watch the game. But to make things better, we are still joined by two people that were actually at the game. Now, I watched the game back myself today, so I did actually watch the whole thing because I was like, can't really do player ratings and talk about a game that I haven't seen. I can't just go by extended highlights, can I? But Pice and Aaron both managed to go to the game brilliantly. I only just realized, Pice and Aaron, by the way, I didn't tag either of you in my tweet. Don't know how I forgot that. My apologies. Regardless, we won. We went through third round of the Carabao Cup, so that's good. The performance, well, I mean, we'll talk about it. It wasn't great. It certainly wasn't great. I don't personally, I haven't watched it back the next day, obviously. I don't think it was as poor as some people thought or made it out to be. But obviously, you've got to consider when I watched it, I knew we were going to win. So then there's obviously a lot less tension that you have when watching it, when you're 1-0 down, when it's 1-0, because I knew we were going to still win. So I guess maybe that made it look a little bit better than it would when you're watching it live type thing. But yeah, it wasn't good. Let's be honest, especially good forward. Like, I mean, we had one shot in the first half, and that was a penalty which we scored from. So, sorry, one shot on target in the first half, and that was what we scored from. So, you can potentially argue that our squad depth isn't as good as we would like or hope, or maybe even would have thought. But how much of a role do injuries play in that? Of course, Cole Palmer is about to join Chelsea. Medical's completed. We got the here we go yesterday. We'll talk about that, as well as Cucurella's move to Man United being off, Chalobah to Bayern potentially being off as well, and a few other bits and bobs. I will start with you, Aaron. First of all, thank you for being back on. I appreciate it very much. It's been a hot minute because my guy has been all over Europe. We won't go into too much detail, but your journey home was probably one of the most strenuous journeys home I've ever heard of in my whole life. What is this? Did Laurenz freeze on me? Well, I didn't freeze for me. Pice, did I freeze for you? But Aaron, I hope you can hear me again now.
No, that's fine.
There you go. That's good. Very good. But yeah, your journey home was a bit of a nightmare, but you're back and you went straight to the bridge. So as much as it wasn't the best, at least we won back-to-back wins. We haven't had a lot of those last season, so I guess you'll take it. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, bro. My journey back from Europe was very stressful indeed. Cancelled flight after cancelled flight, but made it back in time for the game, which is good. Well, I say that the game wasn't really all that, so I don't know. It doesn't really affect it, but it was still good to go anyway. Considering it wasn't televised, it's good to go to the game and actually be able to watch it. wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but you know what? At this point, it's the second round. We played a lot of the youngsters and sort of the players that don't play in the main team normally, so wasn't expecting the most. I thought it would have been a bit more comfortable than it was, but you know what? The most important thing is that we're through to the next round, unlike other London-based clubs, Tottenham. Going out in the second round, which is quite embarrassing. So at least we've made it to the third round, which is good.
Absolutely. I mean, we didn't quite play a Premier League opponent like Spurs did, but, you know, going through is all that matters at the end of the day. I mean, it's a bit unfortunate because we had some chances to make it a bit more comfortable at the very end, which we didn't take. But I guess at the end of the day, what matters most is that we won. Is that how you see it, Pice? Or what is your thoughts, especially now that it's, well, nearly 24 hours after?
Same as when I was at the game, to be honest. It was a pretty poor game. You know, I think a bit of individual brilliance from Madueke and a mistake from the goalie really won us the game. Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know if we underestimated them or we just, like, with some of our players that played were not as good as we thought they were going to be. Like, I think, you know, Moreira was quite poor. You know, the midfield was okay. Obviously, we'll go in more detail in terms of individual players, but like, it didn't feel like a Chelsea team. Like it was clear that they hadn't played together. You know, the team that was put out quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you had to bring on Jackson, Enzo, Caicedo, you know, to get the job done. Gusto came on as well. It was a little bit embarrassing, I can't lie, because they were League One. But at the same time, you know,
I think.
League One or League Two, whatever they are. But yeah, I think the annoying thing is like when they got the penalty and they scored, like they were obviously going to defend for their lives, and that they did. And it just felt like we didn't really have like, I don't know, like unless the ball was with Madueke, I didn't feel like we was going to have an opportunity to score, and that was just like the most worrying thing. Like, you know, Martin played okay, but it's just a lot of people just playing side to side, trying to figure out how to open them up, and they played a deep block, and it was just kind of typical cup game, to be honest with you. You know, especially when we're 1-0 down. I didn't think it was a penalty. I can't, like, every time I watch it back, like, there's no, like, zoomed in replay. It's just this one replay, and it's really annoying because, Onana did way worse and VAR, and he still didn't get a penalty. So I don't know, but bit of
what did you say? No, I'm not sure what you said, but there was no VAR yesterday.
No, yeah, I know. Like, and
Okay,
I was saying, Onana had VAR as well, and they still didn't decide that one was a penalty. But at least we're through, and obviously we've got a much tougher game next round against Brighton, which we will not need to rotate, and we need to play our strongest team if we've got any chance of going through.
Absolutely. I mean, we can hope they rotate a little bit. That could make it a little bit easier. But yeah, no, absolutely. It's a good point. I mean, we'll get into that penalty talk in a second anyway. But it's an interesting one. I mean, I'm not sure if that United thing is the best example, because didn't the referees even send an official apology to Wolves because they got the decision wrong? So as much as obviously VAR didn't give a penalty on the day, I think they apologized in hindsight. So I still don't know. Exactly like you said, there wasn't really a good replay of it. Like I say, I watched the whole game back and there was no good replay where you could really make out, does he get the ball first or does he not? What I think happened is that Sanchez punched the ball into the Wimbledon player's face. I think that what happened, because the way it bounced out, it didn't look like he got it first, because otherwise why would it bounce there? So I think he punched it into the Wolves defenders, Wimbledon's player's face. Is that then a penalty? I don't know. Is it reckless? I mean, obviously, if it's a boot up there, obviously it's a straight pen, but it's the goalie, but it's outside the 6-yard box. I don't know. I'll be perfect.
I always think with goalies, like if you go for the ball and you're both going for the ball at the same time and he punches it or like something like that, I always feel like you should get the benefit of the doubt, because there's two players going for the ball at the end of the day. Like keepers, you can't just stop keepers coming out and playing that style of goalkeeping just because there might be a chance he clatters into someone. Like, as long as you get a bit of the ball first, I think it shouldn't be a penalty. But I mean, There we go. And in general, I think that ref, he wasn't a Prem ref. And when I was at the game, I don't know about Aaron, but I just felt like he was trying to, it just felt like he was trying to create a cup time more than anything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He blowed it. He blowed that penalty so quick. It was in like a second. He was just like, penalty. I was just like, we didn't even have time to think about it.
We're not used to that anymore, are we, with VAR, refs making quick decisions?
It just felt like, like when we conceded that, I was like, that's typical. Like, I knew that was going to happen. I knew they were going to get a penalty or something. And I don't know. It's, weird. But
there you go. We'll get into the Sanchez discussion a little bit more, and I'll ask Aaron about it as well in a second. Before that, I want to ask both of your thoughts on the team that we put out. And I'll start with you, Aaron. I would say it was mostly a 4-2-3-1. Also in the second half, I think it was in a ideal of a 4-2-3-1, even if until we brought, what was the sub we made? We brought Gusto on for Colwill. Until then, it was kind of a bit of a 3, but regardless. Ugochukwu making his full debut, getting his first start. Conor Gallagher with the captain's armband. Moreira making his debut for the club as well. Bursto, I think it was, the first start in a competitive game. And a big one, we'll talk about that after the player ratings in a little bit more detail, but Cucurella starting after we had all thought, well, he's off to Man United. There was reports by Fabrizio that he had agreed personal terms and it was essentially close. And all of a sudden he starts and then plays the whole 90 minutes. And that was a bit weird. But in general, Aaron, what did you make of the team? I guess a somewhat to be expected mix of first team and reserves, especially with all the injuries we have, in particular in attacking areas.
Yeah, it was kind of expected that we were going to rotate a fair bit, considering it was Wimbledon. It's a cup game. So we didn't expect the main first team. I remember seeing the lineup and I got it quickly as I was on the train while I had signal. I sent it and it was like, okay, we were trying to figure out what formation we were playing, who would be playing where. It was a little bit confusing. When I saw it, I didn't expect Humphreys at right back. I thought he'd be in the middle and Disasi might be on the right side. So that was interesting to see when I got there and I actually saw the players lining up on the pitch that Humphreys was at right back. It was kind of confusing when we saw also who would be in the 10 role, because it was Moreira and Madueke who normally play on the same side. It was kind of like one of them had to shift over and it was Moreira in the end. But yeah, it was an interesting team. I was kind of confused by a few selections, especially Cucurella. That confused me so much. But other than that, it was semi-expected rotations. I thought it probably would have been about that team, but just maybe one or two different players.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, especially that Humphreys Disasi one. I can't remember now. Did we see Humphreys play out of position at right back at some point last season? Am I imagining
he was, Oh, I thought you meant yesterday, to be fair.
No, yesterday he was definitely a right back. But
Yeah.
did that happen last season as well at some point? Like before he went on loan?
He played right centre back in a 3 when we played City away,
Maybe
but it
was
wasn't
that,
at right back.
Okay, there you go. I mean, to be fair, he looks a bit more agile and quick than Disasi. So to me, it made more sense for him to be at right back. I'll be perfectly honest. But to respond to this question, Robbie, he doesn't seem to be injured. I think it was just a knock on his ankle, and it was just like a knock that was in the moment painful. But the way Pochettino spoke about it after the game, he should be fine for the weekend. Pies, your thoughts on the team? Many surprises in there other than, I guess, Cucurella. Otherwise, I guess kind of as expected, even if we didn't really know what are we doing, like in terms of the wing. Is Sterling going to play? Is it going to be Madueke and Moreira? You know, we didn't really know how it was going to pan out, but what did you make of it?
Typical cup team, to be fair. I mean, I didn't think Moreira was going to play. Like, I know he's been knocking about and training and that, but I thought, you know what I was quite surprised with? I was quite surprised that Martin played as a number 10. That was what I was quite surprised with. It was really weird, to be fair.
I mean, I don't think he would have done if we had some other players available.
Probably not, but like even in pre-season, he was like drifting into number 10, but he was starting on the left or right.
I think one game I'm not sure if it was maybe the second half, but in one preseason game he played like for a part of the game he played as a 10 as well. I didn't really like him at the 10 then already. I wasn't the biggest fan of it yesterday either, I will be perfectly honest. But yeah, no, I agree. Moreira.
Cucurella is obviously the strange one because now it looks like he's going to stay, which is just so weird. Like, I don't understand. Like, surely Poch would have known about the move. Like, they must have discussed that. Like, I'm so confused why we played him, and now, like, that's the reason why. Well, we played him is the reason why they're apparently looking at Reguilon now instead. I'm just so confused. Why, if you had a negotiation there, why you?
I mean, we'll get into it again later, but don't you think it's more to do that we figured out? Okay, they want to have that option to send him back in January, and we were not having that, and they weren't going away from it. So then we're like, okay, play him then. That's my only logical thought of how this could have transpired, because like you say, otherwise it just makes no sense.
But then, like, Chelsea must have known that United weren't going to do the deal if that wasn't the case anyway. So, to be honest, maybe they just...
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, maybe they played him already knowing he was staying, you know, I don't know, but that's maybe what it was like more than anything. But yeah, that's my only theory is like, maybe they already knew he was staying, you know, last night or something. I don't know.
No, exactly. Hello, Varna, at 2 a.m. in Malaysia. Big up to you. Appreciate you tuning in, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in, of course. Yeah, it is very early in the morning. But let's get back to doing the player race. Let's get back to Sanchez. And Aaron, I'll get your thoughts. Obviously, you saw it at the time. You were in the Matthew Harden right behind it. You said it looked like a pen at the time. I'm sure you've seen it back since then. But like me and Pice touched on, there wasn't really a clear replay of it. I wonder what would have happened if there was VAR, because like I say, if there wasn't a real replay, I'm not sure if VAR would have then provided more replays. I'm not sure. But the one thing I want to touch on, I'm not sure if you boys both heard about this, but Pochettino in his post-match interview said that it was offside. Also, none of the replays showed that. So I don't know which replay he saw in which that would have been visible, but he claimed that the player was offside, so it shouldn't have been a penalty if there was VAR, regardless of whether it was a foul or not.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, would it? Let's be honest.
No, it wouldn't. And there was no camera shot that literally had the attacking line in shot as the ball was played, so you just had no idea. I literally wonder how, maybe the coaching staff and stuff, they have access to other cameras in the ground that are maybe not necessarily used by TV or by Chelsea TV, because it wasn't obviously normally broadcast. But yeah, Aaron, what did you make of the penalty? And then as a whole, what did you make of Sanchez's performance and what rating would you give him?
Yeah, as you were saying, it was very difficult to sort of decipher whether it was a penalty or not, because from my angle where I was like relatively in line with the goal. So the way that I saw it was like he was coming to punched across, and from where I was sat and everyone around me reacted the same way. It looked like he just completely punched him in the face, and everyone around me was like, oh shit, like that looked dodgy. And the guy was down on the floor for a bit. That player also was a bastard, because when he was on the floor, he turned to the fans and started like waving his fist about, like celebrating the fact that he got a penalty, and everyone just calling him a wanker for the rest of the game. But
that was funny. Everyone just calling him that. It was so funny.
when he got subbed off, he got berated with wanker chants. It was hilarious. But Yeah, it would have been very difficult from where we were. I know Pius and Charlie were in the Matthew Harding as well. I think Charlie may have had a better view because he was sort of more towards that left side. But
Yeah.
from where I was sat, I didn't have a view to see whether it was offside or not. So I wouldn't even be able to tell you. And the replays obviously didn't show it either. They didn't give a good sort of a replay of a different angle to see whether he got the ball or the man. But from where I was sat, it looked like he got the man. So that's why I was a bit like, for fuck's sake, like already. And going 1-0 down to Wimbledon of all teams in the cup early on is not ideal. But I think aside from that, he didn't have all that much to do. I think he made, from what I can remember, he probably made like a couple of saves at best, but nothing really that threatening. That obviously there was a few things that may have happened on the other side of the pitch, but I didn't have the best view late on when there was a little bit of.
I genuinely can't remember him making a real save. I'm not even sure if he actually made a save. I guess I could look up the stats. Maybe
I know there was a little bit of stuff going on the other side late on, but obviously because I'm on the complete opposite side of the pitch, I wasn't able to see as much. But I don't remember him doing all that much. I don't know whether to be harsh on him with the Superman punch, because if he got the ball and the decision was wrongly awarded, then it's not really his fault. But if he didn't, then it's like, what the fuck are you doing? So it's really difficult to kind of give him a rating. I think it's one of them where you have to give like 2 ratings: one, whether he actually fouled him, and 2, if he didn't. Because if he did give away that penalty legitimately, then obviously it brings his rating down. But none of us actually know whether he got the ball or whether he got the man. So it's kind of difficult to give him a rating in that sense.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, hey, you brought it up, so might as well. Let's say he didn't cause the penalty. What rating would you give him then, and what would you give him if it was a legitimate penalty, disregarding a potential offside, obviously?
I think if he legitimately gave away the penalty, then it's like a 5, because it was just stupid. Like, I'm not being funny, as a keeper, if you're going to be coming to claim a cross or punch it away, you need to know full well that you are getting to that ball. And he's done it a few times since he's been here, like where he just hasn't looked very convincing on coming for crosses or trying to punch them away. So that's a little bit of a cause for concern. So if he didn't get the ball, then it's a 5, and if he did, then it's a 6, because other than that, he had literally nothing to do. So there's nothing really to mark him on. The only real downside is you give him the -1 if he obviously got the man in the face, but who the fuck knows at this point, really.
Yeah, honestly, I'm in a similar boat to you, really, because he didn't do anything wrong after that. He caught a few crosses really well after that. And that's the only thing that's weird, because exactly like you mentioned, Aaron, there's been a few cases or instances where his punching of the balls has been a bit dodgy. But whenever he catches them, he's caught them all so cleanly and so well. And then when I see this, I'm like, why not just try catch it? Because if he catches it, then all that happens is he collides with the player. Now, he may drop the ball. That's a different scenario, obviously. But then it's not a foul from him. Then if it's more likely to be a foul of the attacker if he catches the ball first. So I think the bigger problem, rather than his ability of dealing with crosses coming in, I think it's more his decision-making of, do I punch it? Do I catch it? What do I do? I think that's, if anything, the thing that he maybe needs to iron out a bit more still. But yeah, I'm probably in agreement. Pice, do you see it the way Aaron does, in terms of, if it is a penalty and we can't be 100% sure, give him a 5. If it isn't, give him a 6, that type of thing?
Yeah, I can't imagine with him in that. I disagree on, like, he's been a bit concerning from cross. I think he's almost overconfident, which is kind of the opposite of what everyone kind of said with him. They said he was just terrible at coming for them in general. He comes for them, but he missed
Maybe
a couple.
He's overcompensating.
Yeah, like it's kind of the opposite of what everyone was kind of saying when we signed him. So I think it's actually a pleasant surprise. I quite like a keeper that is quite aggressive coming out.
To be honest, that's right.
Like that. Yeah, so I think I don't know. I need to see a replay, like a proper replay, because again, even on the Sky Sports YouTube channel, it just shows the camera angle from above, which, by the way, was stupid last night. I watched the highlights. If you haven't seen, like, go and watch Chelsea Luton highlights, and then go watch Chelsea Wimbledon highlights. The camera,
it's like they have different cameras.
Yeah, like it's so high up, the game against Wimbledon. So I don't know. Like, I feel like on a lower camera, you can even sort of see a little bit better, but. Yeah, I can't agree with the ratings, to be fair.
Yeah, to be honest, I'll bring this comment up again in a second. Let's leave a 5/6. Let's not even make it a 5.5, because we can't fully conclusively know. I know some people in the chat said, "Oh, watch it again. It's not a pen." I don't think, from the slow-mos and replays that do exist, I don't think you can fully see it. And I think anyone that claims that they have clearly seen it, you're lying to yourself, personally, because how can you tell? Like, sorry. But I do find it hilarious that Maggie is apparently a thing in Malaysia as well. Who would have thought? But fair play. Enjoy your Maggie, mate. But yeah, fair play to Sanchez. I know someone said, how can I tweet Kepa better than Sanchez during the game? Well, I didn't watch the game. I just saw he gave a penalty away and I was fuming. that's what happened. It's quite simple. But yeah, I've never seen Kepa punch anyone in the face. So, make of that what you will. Pice, we need to do something about Eman here. I'm not saying unblock him, but tell him that you're not going to unblock him, or tell him that you will unblock him, because every bloody stream he's here telling me to tell you to unblock him, whether you're here or not. Please say something.
Right, I don't know what he did. I have so many people blocked. So tell me what you did, and then I'll decide.
Yeah, he apparently doesn't know, but that seems like...
Well, no, there will definitely be a reason. I don't just randomly block people. So
yeah, exactly.
He needs to give me his art, and then type your art, and then I'll type you in and see what happened.
Exactly. Lee, good question. Obviously, the away kit was released this morning. There is pictures where it looks very blue, which I said that from the get-go. I mean, obviously, our home kit has a fair bit of white on it this year, but still, it does seem a bit pointless, the whole thing, where I'm like... But that just means we're probably going to use the third kit quite a bit this season, which I don't mind, because I think that mint green, once we get to see it officially, will look quite good. So I don't mind it. But yeah, let's move up that pitch, get away from Sanchez. Oh yeah, one last thing I want to touch on in terms of goalkeeper. Pochettino in the day before in the press conference said that Petrovic didn't have the work visa ready yet. That's why he couldn't play. But then he was on the bench. So I was a bit confused. Did he just get the work visa super late, but because we didn't plan for him to play, then we put him on the bench, or what? Because I don't really understand. Do you know what I mean? I'm not expecting either of you to know to have an answer to this either, but I just want to put it out there, find out a bit odd. But hey, here we are. Let's see when Petrovic gets his chance, maybe against Brighton in the next round of the Cup. Who knows? All right, shall we start? Let's just go from right to left, I guess, with Humphreys kind of being a centre-back anyway. Bashi Humphreys, I'll start with you, Pice. What do you make of him? Honestly, what can you say? Like, we conceded one goal. We conceded like 3 chances in the whole game, one of them being the penalty. I almost want to give at least the centre-backs, we'll talk about Cucurella after that, just the basic 6, because I don't think they did anything wrong, but I don't think they did enough right to give them anything higher than a 6.
I'm pretty sure Disasi nearly lost us the game, if I'm correct. I'm pretty sure he lost the ball, and then they were kind of through on goal, and then he just completely fluffed it at the striker. Pretty sure it was Disasi, but not sure if I'm right. Aaron, do you remember that? Like, it was towards the end, and he kind of...
Yeah, so basically what it was, I can't remember whether he completely missed the ball or just took a bad touch, but it was definitely Disasi. It was either a bad touch or he missed the ball, and then the striker went through. And
you mean like the kind of bad clearance type thing?
It looked like a bad touch, or he missed the ball, one of the two. It was on the other side of the pitch when it passed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to see. It was definitely Disasi, but he done something stupid, and then the striker.
He just has mistakes in him. And it's annoying, because I think overall, like, he does play well, but then like these moments just creep in, and then they can cost us, which is
especially as he doesn't really have the acceleration and agility to make up for mistakes quickly. You know, like a Chalobah or a Colwill or a Rudiger. Like, when they make mistakes every now and again, but because of how quick and agile they are for a centre-back, they usually manage to make up for it themselves. Who was another example of that? Like Zuma, prime Zuma before he obviously got his bad injury. He was a big example of that as well. But yeah, I mean, I watched the game back, and I honestly don't fully remember what situation we're talking about. I remember the chance very late on, but actually then Disasi got a really decisive, important block in. So it can't be the one you're talking about. So I can't fully judge, but I'll give your guys obviously priority on that. But in terms of Humphreys, Pice, would you agree with the 6? Is there anything else? I mean, his pass completion was very good. He had 103 passes, but again, it was obviously a League 2 opponent, right? 1 out of 1 tackles, 2 out of 4 ground duels, 1 out of 2 air duels. Not amazing, but I mean, like I say, they had barely any chances. So, I mean, they had 16% possession. So, like, how much did the defenders really have to do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was quite impressed with him, though. Like, I think even though the quality of opponent, every time we've seen him, he's actually been quite good in pre-season. I thought he was good. I will give him a 6, but yeah, I think he was... I don't know. He's
decent player.
One that I like. Yeah, I quite like him.
Absolutely.
Especially because he played right back as well. Like, he definitely played right back. He definitely was a 4-2-3-1. So
yeah, no, I agree.
which is weird. Like, why would you? This is another thing I just quite didn't understand. It's like, so you play 4-2-3-1 with a team that's never really played together, but you won't play 4-2-3-1 in the Premier League with all our
I
best
think it's
players.
just options, bro, because like we didn't
So
have
annoying.
any other attackers available. So then what you kind of had to play for, because we needed Martin in attack. So you couldn't, if that makes sense. And we didn't, and unless you wanted to play Thiago Silva again or Gusto again, you kind of had to, play one of the centre backs at right back, I suppose. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. Aaron, do you think a 6 is fair for Humphreys, or what do you reckon?
I would have gone ever so slightly higher than a 6, only because it's not his natural position. He doesn't play very often, but coming in there, he looked pretty comfortable, even though, albeit we had the majority of the possession. Whenever he got the ball or whenever Disasi was looking for like that option on the right side, he was actually making runs forward, and he was actually giving Madueke a bit of an overlap at times as well. So I thought he was pretty decent. I would have gone like 6.5, maybe even a 7, just because he was... as a centre back, trying to do that job is not the easiest thing in the world. Like we've seen with Chalobah as well, it took him time to be able to start to get that sort of more forward thinking mentality in his head when you're playing right back. So I was pretty impressed. I'd go 6.5 probably.
You know what? I'd agree. I'll go along with it. Pice, do you want to raise yours to a 6.5 as well? Not that it matters, but
no, I'll keep him at a 6.
Fair dues. I think I'll go along with Aaron, just for basically the reasons that Aaron mentioned. Let's get to Disasi then. I would have just given him a 6 as well, but I didn't really clock that moment that you guys are talking about, so I'll go with you on that one. Aaron, is that enough to drop him down to a 5? Does it get him a 5.5? Still a 6? You could also argue like that super last ditch block at the very end could have potentially saved us from a lot of drama. So maybe it raises it back up to a 6. What do you think?
He's so difficult to actually give a rating because he just confuses me. Like sometimes he'll do something that's just so stupid, and you just think, how have you ended up here with some of the calamitous mistakes that you actually make? Luckily, it didn't cost us, but in a different world, that could have actually been quite disastrous because that could have then taken us to 2-2 and could have taken us into extra time. God knows what happens with there if it gets the penalties. We're not exactly the greatest at those, so. I'd probably go for a 5. I've not been impressed with him in the slightest, and I'm hoping that he's just taking a bit more time than expected to adjust to the league. But yeah, he's not really impressed. Fair
enough. I mean, looking at some of his stats, the passing was obviously good. A lot of touches, I'm aware, but ground duels 0 out of 2. All right. Aerial duels 10 out of 14. I mean, 71% is still good, but I mean, look at the size of him. How is he losing any aerial duels? That's why against a League 2 opponent. I mean,
yeah, that's another thing. Aerially, like you'd expect him to win pretty much everything, but there was times where people were jumping up and getting to the ball above him. It's kind of like you should use your height. It's kind of like what United had with Weghorst. You have someone so tall but just doesn't command themselves in the air in the way that they should. It's really confusing.
Like Lukaku, he's like that as well. He just doesn't jump because they're like, oh, I'm tall, I'll win it anyway. Well, you're not. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, fair enough. A 5 from your end, Paisa. Would you go along with that 5 for that mistake, or is it a bit higher than that? What do you reckon?
Probably go 5.5. The block was good at the end, but I don't know. I might even go 6 because, like, apart from that one mistake, he didn't really do anything wrong. And obviously that block compensated it. So. Yeah, I probably will go over 6, actually. I don't really remember too many times where he was bad on the ball or anything like that. So, for me, I'd go over 6.
Fair dues. And like I say, I said I was going to go with you guys because if I didn't see that moment, it kind of makes it difficult to judge if that was kind of his one standout moment of the game, bar the block at the very end. So, I guess I just go between you guys and give him a 5.5. We'll move on to Levi Colwill. We were all terrified. I'm not sure if you guys were terrified in the ground, if you even clocked it, that he looked kind of slightly injured. But because obviously he went straight down the tunnel when he was subbed off. But according to Pochettino, he just got himself some ice to put on his ankle. So I'm glad that he's fine. Honestly, while he was on the pitch, other than the passing, he played some great passes. Unfortunately, no one ever made anything with them. Moreira on a couple of occasions. Martin, I feel like on 1 or 2 occasions as well. Maybe Bursto too. I'm not sure. Didn't do that much with it, but I would just overall, again, just give it a 6. I don't know. Like, obviously, we gave Humphreys that extra 0.5, I suppose, with playing out of position, one of his first games for the club. Was it his first game at the Bridge? I'm not sure. But then again, he played City away, so he should be okay with Wimbledon at home, I suppose. But yeah, I just give Colwill a 6. I don't really know what else I can add. Like I say, his passing is always great. I come to expect that of him, I'll be honest. But a few good passes against Wimbledon isn't enough for me to raise his rating from a 6. So I'll just go with that. Pice, would you go along with a 6 too, or would you go for something different?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would. It's quite hard to rate the defenders. Like, didn't really get tested that much. So, you could see the defenders on the ball were just, a level above, our opposition. And I think they didn't really press all that much either. They kind of just sat off and almost felt like their attackers were quite isolated at times. So, yeah, I would probably go with 6. Not really much to judge, really.
Yeah, I agree. Aaron, would you go along with it too?
Yeah, sounds about right. Not really much to do, but yeah, Colwill, as always, just looks good whenever he plays, really.
He does. He absolutely does, to be fair. All right, then. Let's get on to, a certain guy that we thought was leaving yesterday before the lineup came out, and now looks like he might be staying. And seemingly, at least me watching the game in hindsight, I seemingly had a slightly different opinion to both of you guys, because both of you seem to think he was pretty poor, if not really poor. I didn't think Cucurella was that bad. I know that maybe sounds a bit ridiculous to both of you guys, and I'll give you the chance to explain yourself, of course. I mean, the pass completion, 95%, of course, I spoke to Pice about it already, and he was like, well, one of his complaints about him was that he always passed backwards and sideways. So obviously the pass completion is going to be high. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think he was bad. Like, obviously, some of the crosses that he played weren't good. I'm aware of that. And obviously, that is a fairly important part of a fullback's game. I get that. But I see a lot of, players play bad crosses. I've also seen Reece James play quite a few bad crosses this season before he got injured. I say that was only one game. But still, even in that Liverpool game, he played a few crosses. I'm like, that's not a Reece James cross. What's happening? So I don't know. As much as crossing is important, crossing is also difficult. So it's like I always feel a bit harsh when someone did all right overall and then had bad crosses and then be like super harsh in like their rating or what I say about them, because I think his positioning was good. He always kept the ball. He never gave it away that I remember or that I clocked. He got in good positions. He made some overlap and runs. And he also had Moreira in front of him who just did nothing. And you literally couldn't give Moreira the ball without him giving it away, like playing it out of bounds or passing it straight to the opponent. So difficult job. I'm not saying Cucurella was great, but in my opinion, he did enough to get a 6. I know you guys will take a note. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, for me, I didn't really see what he did that was supposed to be that bad. But Aaron, because I already know a little bit of what Pice thought, I'll go with you first. What did he do that, in your opinion, made him have a bad game? And then what rating would you give him?
Well, I don't think the man knows how to play a forward pass other than for the second goal. Like, every time he'd pick up that ball on the left side, bar a couple of times where he'd sort of make a run forward, it was always just a backwards pass or a sideways pass. It wasn't like he was trying to move the play on forward. It was very negative. And you're thinking, when you're against Wimbledon and you've got all of this going around you with your transfer situation at the moment, this is your chance to get on that pitch, get a run out, because you're unplayed all season, and sort of show what you're about. And it was disappointing. Like, he didn't make any forward runs really, bar a couple of occasions. He had Moreira in front of him, who we'll get on to later. But geez, he was shite. But like, you just expect so much more. Granted, you have to lower your expectations based on what we saw last year, but against the opposition at Wimbledon, you just expect more. Like, at least make some bombing runs forward, put in some good crosses, and there was just nothing. And even defensively, like, he didn't really get himself about. He didn't command himself. He wasn't like trying to offer up a load of. He was offering up options on that left side into space, but it's like you should be pushing yourself forward in order to give your centre back that option to then bring the ball forward as well. He wasn't really doing a lot of that, so I don't know. I just very disappointed. I don't know in terms of rating. I think I'd go with like a 5. But yeah, it just was not good. It was nothing great, and it's not really a surprise that he's nowhere near the team at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, it's weird. I'm not sure if you clocked that as well. Remember the Gallagher sit at the very end? Cucurella set that one up, so that was good play. According to my app here, it says he created 4 chances. I'll be honest, I don't remember those 4 chances he supposedly created. One of them, big chance. I assume that's the Gallagher one. Obviously, his long ball in the end set up Enzo's winner, but obviously it was kind of just a overhit long ball, and then the goalie ruined it. So I can't give too much credit for it, but he was still involved. I get you. I get you, Percy. No, it's all good, bro. We forgive and forget, but just don't do it again, innit? But yeah, fair enough. A 5 from your end. Pice, would you go along with a 5 as well, or would you go even lower than what Aaron did? What did you make of him? I mean, someone in the chat just said second half he was a lot better. Maybe I just remember the second half more than the first half. I don't know.
For me, my dislike of Cucurella is just his game. He's not the type of fullback that I like to watch. I don't know. It's just, I know Chilwell's not been great this season, but at least he bombs forward. At least
and he hasn't played fullback.
Yeah, at least it's something. I don't know, man. It's just a personal preference, I think. For me, I just don't really like how he plays. Like Aaron said, a lot of sideward passes, just doesn't really command himself. A bit over aggressive as well. That's obviously a part of his game which I don't like. He's always pretty secure in possession. I actually think, in terms of receiving the ball, he's a lot better than Chilwell, getting out of tight spaces and stuff. But when he's pressed,
possessed 0 times, and he had 95% out.
But it's you're not he should play a left centre back and a back three and just stay there. Just progress the ball. Just get the ball past it. For the amount of money we paid, and I know you don't judge off that, but you still look at the lineup and you think, okay, you got £60 million fullback here, and he just doesn't attack. If he played 3 or 4 of those passes to Gallagher, which sets up chances, fine. But he didn't. That was right at the end, and this the only thing he did really that was good in my opinion. But yeah, I honestly, I tweeted I'd send him to United for free because I just don't see how he helps us. I just see him being third choice, and if Martin gets sold off the back of him staying, I'm gonna be fuming, honestly. But yeah, he's just. I don't know, he's not a problem, but he is because he's there, and obviously Poch doesn't want him. He clearly doesn't. So I don't know. But yeah, rating I wouldn't go too low. I'd go probably about a 5, same, but it just doesn't, I don't know, he's just if there was ever a meh player, it's him for me to describe that. It's just
even I'd agree with that. I'll be perfect.
You know what I mean? He just doesn't sort of, I don't know.
He just doesn't do enough in any way. He's safe in possession, that's good and that's important, but he's not
it's you said what does he
£60 million player.
Yeah. You said what does he do bad? It's what does he do good as well? He's just average. And then at times obviously he costs us as well with defending in Premier League games and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, it's fair. I mean, we'll get into the transfer story later, so we'll talk about it in more detail then. But I agree, it's a bit of a difficult situation. Let's get to Ugochukwu. Leslie, if we want to call him that, whatever people prefer. I'm a fan. I am a fan. Now, he didn't do crazy things. He didn't do that much. But I genuinely like the way he moves on the pitch, what he does on the pitch, how he dropped between the centre backs at times. This is what I want Caicedo to do, want to play. Hopefully, at some point, the 4-2-3-1 with the main team as well. The way he just very give and go, quick, receives the ball, gives the ball. Also got himself involved in attack every now and again, made some smart runs in and around Gallagher and the right-hand side. I really enjoyed how he played, and I'm happy that he seemingly is going to stay for the season because, first of all, he gives us some height and some strength because he is tall, he is big guy, even though he's only 19. I like him. 93% pass accuracy. Accurate long balls, 6 out of 7, which is strong. Tackles, 1 out of 2. Round duels, 2 out of 4. Apparently didn't go for any average duels, but yeah, didn't commit a foul either. 5 recoveries. I'm very happy. I like him. Obviously, again, we got to consider it was a League 2 opposition and we had 86% possession. So make of that what you will, right? So we can't go too high, and maybe I will overdo it now with the rating I'm about to say. But at the same time, it's I can only judge by what's put in front of him. And yesterday, I thought he did well, and I'll give him a 7. I think him, Gallagher, and Madueke were probably our 3 best players for me, in terms of the ones that started, obviously. So yeah, I was pretty happy with Ugochukwu. Pice, thoughts? You saw him in person, so you probably had a bit of a better overview if you paid any attention to him. Do you like what he does? Do you like him? What rating would you give him?
I'd give him a 6. Thought he was just average, to be fair. I think he did what he should do. I mean, he's come from Liga. I expect him to perform a good team in league. I expect him to perform against a team like Wimbledon. He's good on the ball. There was one moment though where he took too much time on the ball and lost it, and they had a chance from it. It was reminded me of this. You remember how Saul he lost the ball against Aston Villa? It was the exact same thing. He's like he just took too much time and just got dispossessed. So, but yeah, I think that's just a translation issue. It's like you get more time on the ball in other leagues. So it just goes to show in a team like Wimbledon, they still can pick the ball off you if you're not quick and scanning. So yeah, I would go with 6. I think he played okay. Just average, yeah, just did okay. Yeah, I'd like to see him stay. Obviously, he's probably going to stay now. So yeah, but I'd just go average. To be fair, did his job.
You know what? I forgot about that mistake. Actually, I'll change mine to a 6.5. So we have a 6.5 and a 6 so far. Aaron, what would you go for Ugochukwu? What did you make of him?
Yeah, I'd probably go with the 6 as well, to be honest. Like, he didn't do anything exactly out of this world, but he basically does what it says on the tin, sort of just composed, very chilled, sort of breaking up the play, short little passes. Nothing amazing. Like, he had that one moment as well where it was like he was a bit too relaxed, got dispossessed, and then everyone sort of had to run back and, yeah, it just put us in a bit of an awkward situation. But other than that one moment, he was pretty decent, just does... Yeah, like I said, does what it says on the tin pretty much. Very, very short performance, very chilled out. And yeah, probably a 6.
Fair dues. You know what? Fair dues. Maybe I was a bit, overexcited by just him being a new player and I thought he did well. Maybe I should have just expected this level of performance. But fair enough. We give him a 6. Let's get to Conor Gallagher. Touching it for me, Ugochukwu, Gallagher and Madueke. But in particular, Gallagher and Madueke, the 2 best players of the ones that started for me. I thought he did well. Honestly, the link-up play with Madueke, the link-up play at times with Martin as well, it's very good. Also, second half once Jackson was on, it was very good. Again, it was only a League 2 opposition, I'm aware, but Gallagher is honestly impressing me a little bit, like in terms of the development he seems to have taken across, last season, but over the summer into this season. Like, I'm impressed. Like, honestly, Gallagher was literally the very first name on my sheet of players to sell this summer. And now there's talk about, Tottenham may step up their pursuit of Conor Gallagher for £50 million. And I'm like, I hope they bloody don't, because I just rather keep him at whatever option that exactly may be, in terms of obviously backup in whatever positions that may be, multiple positions, being that guy that can bring some energy off the side of the bench. I like him. He's got his touch under control. He's got his passing under control. I know he didn't score yesterday, but he should have done. And he's still a goal threat, which not a lot of our midfielders are, even with how much we spent for midfielders, Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo. Obviously, Enzo scored yesterday and can get a goal, but I would still say overall, Gallagher is probably more of a goal threat, like has a bit more of a goal instinct in him. So I would like to keep him, and I think he does warrant a 7, and with him, I will stick to that 7. For yesterday, I thought he did well. I was honestly I'm pretty happy with him. Pice, what did you make of Gallagher? 96% pass completion, 5 out of 5 dribbles completed. Bloody hell, didn't even talk that. Long balls, he only played 1, but completed that. 2 out of 3 dribbles, 10 out of 11 ground duels. Bloody hell. He had a good game, honestly. He had a good game, in my opinion. What did you make of Gallagher, and what rating would you give him? I mean, here on the app, it even has an 8.5, but that's obviously bringing stats into it completely, so maybe not fully justified to go that high, but I still think he had a good performance. I mean, maybe you can go higher, but obviously the difficult part is, can any Chelsea player get anything higher than, say, maximum an 8 against the League 2 opposition? I would say no. I will probably give Madueke an 8, but everybody else is going lower, and I don't, so that's why I'm giving Gallagher a 7. But what did you make of him, Pice?
I'm probably going to be harsher just because, not that I don't think he played well. I think he did. I just taken the opposition, like the team we played against. I'll give him a 6.5. He was above average, but he did miss a sitter. And I expected him to play above average against this sort of opposition. But I've been so surprised with him, honestly. I really have. The way he's improved in possession is just ridiculous. Like, the fact that I don't really have much issue with him playing in the pivot is just like, I honestly, like, I'm mind blown, honestly. Like, when he played on a pivot under Tuchel, my eyes were hurting, bro. It was so bad. I don't understand what Poch has done to him, but he's just improved. I don't know whether it's the ponytail or what. Like, he's just, not the ponytail, but like, he has, like, he's changed his hair. Like, I don't know what it is, but he's turned really good. He really is. I really liked his interview as well. I've just seen Matt Law say that Spurs are going to make a late bid for him. So, I could definitely see him being sold just because pure profit, if that bid comes in. But honestly, I wouldn't. And honestly, going to Spurs, knowing how much affiliation he has with Chelsea, I wouldn't really like that, honestly. Like, watching his interview last night, like,
Yeah.
it really does mean a lot for him to play for Chelsea. So,
Be
I think
captain as well last night.
we need those players in the squad, man. Like, if they're good enough, we need them in the squad. And I definitely think he is. But at the same time, we've got to obviously evaluate, bids and business and that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. But I'd be happy for him to stay. And like you said, I think he was my first one to sell as well, probably. I think we did a stream on it, and I was like, him, I think Koulibaly, Mendy, those were like my first ones to sell, to be honest.
Yeah, no, exactly. And he's honestly maybe proven us wrong is maybe not the right word, but he's certainly like,
he has proven us wrong. Like,
I've proven us wrong, but also just improved, right? Like, just by what he was last season, our opinion was fair, but what we didn't see coming is that improvement. And, now our opinion has changed. So I think that's fair enough. But yeah, you went 6.5. Aaron, I know you're in general not the biggest fan of Gallagher. I'm not sure because of obviously how much you've been away over the summer, how much you've been able to follow along with preseason, but then also the games. Have you also been as impressed with Gallagher as myself and Pice have been? And what about yesterday in particular? What rating would you give him?
Mate, it doesn't matter where I am in the world. I'm always Chelsea. I find a way to watch the game, but I am gobsmacked that I don't know who it is. That's not Conor Gallagher. I don't know who the hell's in his body. That's not Conor Gallagher because
bro, it's Gala Dog instead of Gala Dog.
Gala Greyhound. Yeah, it's been very refreshing. I was not expecting him to start the season the way he has, but yeah, he has been impressive. I can't lie. It's very surprising to see, but yeah, he's done very well. I don't know what Poch has done to him, as Pi said. That I don't know. It could be the hair because. Yeah, there's not really many other explanations for it, but he's actually done really well this season so far. Obviously, granted, it's only been 4 games of competitive football, but yeah, he has been impressive. I'd probably go with the 6.5 purely based on the fact of it's a shy opposition. So you, considering the kind of player you are, you should look like you're excelling in a team like that. So that's the only reason I go 6.5. But yeah, it was another decent performance from him, definitely, because last season we would have seen a good few stinkers by now after 4 games. But yeah, he hasn't really done much wrong in these 4 games. Can't lie, I'll give it to him.
Absolutely. I'm not even sure. Has he even been subbed off yet? I feel like he might have played 90 minutes in every game. Maybe it's been subbed off. But yeah, I mean, he started every game as well. So like, that's why it would be weird to me. I know it's because of injuries and Lavia not being fully fit yet and Caicedo only just having come in. But still, I would find it weird if we'd accept an offer for him. I know it would be difficult to turn down 50 million for an academy product because of pure profit on the books. I get that. But I will stand by this. Spurs refuse to do business with us. We should refuse to do business with them. If they start doing business with us, when we want a player, then we can talk. But until you change that mindset, and they haven't and they won't, then we shouldn't entertain anything they do, and we should tell them, well, 300 million and you can have him. I mean, otherwise go do one. As ridiculous as that obviously is. But no, like, I mean, remember the whole Mudryk saga. I mean, if bloody Mudryk was on Roman's yacht, Levi just said no. You're like, no, I'm not having it. You're not getting anyone. Like, I don't care. I'm not helping Tottenham, not in any way, shape, or form. Let's get to, I would say, the biggest down on yesterday. I forget his first name, but Moreira. Diego, is it? People call him Jigsy or whatever it is.
Diego Moreira.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we got him for free after his contract with Benfica expired. I think even for free, we could have saved ourselves that. He gets a 1 from me, and he gets that 1 because it was his first game for us, and I'm not sure how often he played for the Benfica first team. So the 1 he gets for like pity and for I understand you maybe were a bit nervous and whatever else. But I mean, I don't think he did a single thing right. I mean, Chalobah played a super ball to him. He failed to control it. There was so many times where he was by the corner flag or by the sideline where he just played it out of bounds. Where I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, it was just it was just not it. I understand it wasn't his favorite side. But nah, like, I'm sorry. That was just dreadful in every sense of the word. And I feel a bit bad for him also being hooked at halftime, obviously. But he just wasn't any higher. And I think if you're giving Gallagher 6.5, I don't think you can give Moreira anything higher than the 2. Honestly, especially the whole judging by the opposition vibes. Like, I know he just came from Benfica, but I mean, if we want to do anything, like right now, he's probably not even worth more than a free transfer. Do you know what I mean? Like, that did not help his case, did it? At all. I mean, who will I go with first? I'll go with you, Aaron. You obviously are in agreement that Moreira was bad, but how bad was he, and what rating would you give him?
He is shit. I don't know what we saw in him to sign him on a free, but he is shit. Honestly, like that's one I will not understand. I think that might be on par with as bad of a signing for free as Malang Sarr, because he's done absolutely nothing good since I've seen him play from pre-season for me to be like, okay, there's a little something there. And yesterday, my God, he was horrific. Like, the only reason I give him a 1 is because that kid can jump very high. Other than that, I don't think he can do much else. So, yeah, I'm going to keep it short and simple and go with a 1.
Fair dues. I mean, when you look at his stats, I mean, 74% pass accuracy, okay, in an attacking area, maybe a bit more acceptable, but still 0 out of 1 successful dribbles, 1 out of 6 successful crosses, 0 tackles, 0 out of 2 ground duels. When you compare that to Gallagher, 10 out of 11. Do you know what I mean? Like, nah, it just weren't it. And I know someone in the chat said he's not even good enough for Benfica B or didn't do that great for them. Let's not bash him, no, but I mean, yeah, maybe we shouldn't bash him and just whoever decided to buy him. But, do you know what I mean? Yeah, it just wasn't it. Pice, in agreement with the 1, or what would you give him?
I don't even know what to give him. He was dreadful. Like, he was bad. He was so bad. Like, the ball that came over the top, like, how he didn't control that, I don't know. Like, I don't know how many times he lost the ball, but it felt like a lot just from watching it. I don't know what his stats were, but I can imagine they weren't good.
What stat specifically?
Like, possession lost, I felt like he lost the ball a lot. How many times did he lose the ball?
Dispossessed ones, the one I have up here doesn't show possession lost. I'll bring it up on the other thing. But yeah, he doesn't like all the other stats.
17 times
because I didn't have that.
Yeah,
he really poor.
Lost the ball 17 times. Yeah. The thing is as well, like he made 23 out of 31 accurate passes, which is not even good. Like 1 out of 6 crosses. Yeah, 1.
Yeah, 17 times possession lost. And he only played a half, mind you. To lose possession 17 times when you're only playing a half against Wimbledon.
Quick 1 out of 6 cross, bro. Like, come on. 1 out of 6
I don't even remember that one cross, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah. No, there you go. All right. We'll give him a 1. Feel a bit bad, but hey, it is what it is. Ian Martin then. I still don't think I like him that much as a 10. I would see him much better as either a left winger, a left wing back, even as a left 8, but as a 10, because he's so one-footed and he just refuses to ever do anything on his right foot. It's just not ideal. He had that one big chance as well. I think actually also set up by Cucurella. Or was it Jackson? It could have been Jackson as well. But yeah, that was a big chance. Made it a much too easy save for the goalkeeper. But he overall played well. 83% pass completion. He had 1 out of 1 successful cross, but obviously he played centrally. 2 out of 3 successful long balls. Dribble attempted at least 1 out of 2 completed. Ground duels was poor though, especially as he is actually a defender. He only won 2 out of 10 ground duels. That's pretty poor. And he also lost possession 17 times. But obviously he played the full 90 minutes, unlike Moreira, so that obviously makes a big difference. But yeah, I don't think because none of these attacks, like the attacking part of the pitch is where we had the problems, right? Like we had 1 shot on target in the first half and that was our penalty. Attacking was where the problem lied yesterday. I think maybe I'm even being generous giving him a 5, but around a 5 is what I would say. Pice, do you think I'm being harsh? I think you said even you didn't think Martin was that bad, but I don't know, man. Like when I compare it to Moreira next to him, like the amount, how much more experience he has, I'm aware he's playing out of position, but I mean, Poch has only ever played him there. So will we ever see him at left back, especially if Cucurella is staying? I don't know. But yeah, I think he has to do a little bit more. But
might sell him sold, or if anything, that hope it does nothing, but or loaned. I don't know, but. Yeah, rumours obviously we've offered him a contract as well and not signing it. So I don't know. I don't really have. That's probably the one situation going into the end of the window I'm a little bit worried about. And you're right, we haven't seen him at left back, but I think it's because Cucurella's here. Like, honestly, if Cucurella left, then I honestly think we'd see Martin move back a little bit more. Now we've got
But then who the flip would have played in attack yesterday if Cucurella weren't here? Do you know what I mean?
No, I think he would have played at left back, but
no, but literally, who else would have played? You would have had to start Enzo or Caicedo anyway, I guess. But
yeah, or I don't know. I'm sure there would have been some. Maybe you could move Gallagher forward and then I don't know, move someone backwards or something. But yeah. Rating. I don't know at the game. Like I know the stats aren't that great. At the game, I thought he was quite good though. Like he was probably our only other bright spark apart from Madueke. Honestly, I don't know what Aaron thinks, but I thought that he looked like the only other guy that was going to score. Basically, I think he had a couple of shots saved. I probably give him a 5.5 just because I've seen that ground duel stat now. Whatever duel stat is horrendous. But it's things like that. Like I didn't notice him get shoved off the ball or like. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they're pretty obvious if you know. I'm just confused now. More than anything, I'm confused after seeing that because I thought he played decent.
Fair enough. Then you know I get it. Hey, sometimes that happens, especially in the stadium. So a 5 and a 5.5 so far. Then Aaron, what would you give Martin?
I thought he was actually pretty decent as well. Like I don't know whether it's just because we were in the stadium it looked different to us, but I actually thought he was half decent. Like he looked like he was a bit more of a threat. And the one irk that I have is that last chance that we had when they had the corner, they took the keeper up and then we countered. He just didn't release the ball quick enough. He held it, and you could see he was sort of running out of gas. And by the time he'd laid the ball off, it was way too late. The keeper was already coming back. They had 2 defenders back, and Enzo missed the open goal. But I feel like if he just released that ball a bit earlier and played it across, then that would have been 3-1, wrapped up the game there and then. So yeah, that did annoy me. But other than that, I thought he was pretty decent. Like he had one shot, if I can remember, that he pretty much skied over. But other than that, he was decent. I'd go with like a 5.5 as well, 6, probably somewhere in and around that. Probably 5.5.
Fair dues, a 5.5 he shall get then. It's interesting, obviously, Jonas said they should have had an assist for Enzo's last minute shot, and he should have done, but I still agree with because Enzo should have scored it. But I still agree with what Aaron just said, that if he just released it quicker, we could have so easily scored a goal from that, because he also slightly overhit the ball to Enzo. I mean, still, Enzo should have controlled it and then shot like he did for his actual goal, rather than the way he did it. But if Martin doesn't overhit the ball, then Enzo still scores, right? So, make of that what you will. But yeah, let's move on from Martin. I don't really know. We'll talk about it again more when we talk about Cucurella. Does he now leave? Does he stay? If he stays, where does he play? Because, I mean, if Cucurella only stays because we couldn't find anywhere to sell him to, and we don't actually want to use him, then I still don't think Poch will necessarily use him over Martin when he doesn't have to. So, like, when we have enough attackers and midfielders available but Chile needs a rest, and then you're playing a different left back, and it's not Colwill, then I think if Poch prefers Martin, then he should play Martin and not Cucurella, and I think he will also do that. Sorry?
Squad politics, I still think.
Yeah, but is Cucurella that much of a problem? Do you know what I mean? Like, he was on the verge of going to Man United on the loan, and we were on the verge of agreeing that. Everyone knows that. So, like, the squad politics problem is already there. Like, it's already knowledge to everyone, every fan, every player, Cucurella himself, that he's not particularly liked by the manager. Otherwise, we wouldn't have agreed to a loan, right? Or
I think the club will probably try and get Poch to get some sort of value for him over the season, though. If he stays, like if he just freezes him out, then like we might not even get
what happens with Martin anyway, because obviously he has 1 year left on his contract. If he doesn't,
that's why I think he's going to be sold, bro. Honestly,
no. But the only offers we've got was like 25 million from Burnley, and we didn't value that as high enough. So will anyone come in and offer more? I don't know, right? So maybe we'll give him another loan potentially, but we will only allow another loan if he signs a new contract. So if he doesn't,
he wants to do that as well, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, could he do with? I mean, I like him and I think he's a good player, but would he benefit from, after having a few really good loans in the Championship, from having a Prem loan playing regularly? Yeah, absolutely, that would be good for him. But with how our squad is, he could also just stay. But if Cucurella's staying, what do you do with it? It's a tricky one, because while we have the injuries, I still think Martin is kind of needed in the attacking areas. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I just keep him at least until January. But again, it's a whole contract situation, isn't it? But let's get over to the main man of last night, Noni Madueke. Very good performance. Very, very good performance. Obviously, scored the penalty, won the penalty himself. Should have had another goal late on before Gallagher, and then Enzo missed this as well. Madueke should have had a second. But yeah, he played really, really well. Obviously, it's a League Two opposition, and the run was great, but I mean, what a stupid and ridiculous foul. That would never happen in the Prem. Like, no defender is stupid enough to make that tackle. It looked like he literally sat down on his ass and just fell into Madueke in the process. Where I'm like, what a moron you are. But he still played well, and he still was by far our best player. He looked dangerous. He had a few good efforts as well, a couple of them blocked. But yeah, I thought he had a good game. I'll give him an 8. You know, actually, considering you guys gave Gallagher a 6.5, maybe I'll give Madueke a 7.5 just because of the opposition, I guess. Because I feel like if 1.5 higher than Gallagher seems a bit too much. But we'll see what you guys say. Maybe I'll put it back up to an 8. Aaron, I'll let you go first. What did you make of Madueke, and what rate would you give him?
Madueke had a really good game. I feel like he was very, very threatening coming off that right side. He was very his close control dribbling. I've never been to a game and seen him play, but like when you see his close control dribbling up close, it's actually amazing. Like the way he's able to take the ball down, touch it down, and how quick his feet move. Where he can do like left touch with his left boot, touch with his right boot, and just get it out straight away. And actually keeping the composure and just playing simple passes when he needs to, but then actually attacking at the defender, going at them, turning them inside out. He was playing really well, and that's all you can really ask for, because he's not had a preseason. He's barely played any minutes in the league so far. I don't think he was a used sub in the last game, and he only played the 10 minutes against West Ham or however long it was. So he's not played much either. So to come on the pitch and actually produce something like that, granted the opposition is shit, but to come out with that performance was very promising. So it was really good to see. So I'd give him an 8.
Fair dues. Take that 8. Fair enough. Pice, would you guys hire an 8, or is the opposition enough to not get an 8?
I'd go 7.5. Like you said, I don't think he was like a 0.5 better than Gallagher was. Yeah, I would go with 7.5. He was good. He was definitely threatening. It was literally give the ball to Madueke and see what happens. Really, you know, he was really the only attacking player that looked like there was a level above the opposition in our team. Looked like he was going to do something every time he got the ball. It was a great run, obviously. Good penalty as well. I like how he stepped up. I feel like that was one of the ones where it was just like, no, I'm having it, more than it was pre-decided. So I like that confidence from him. But yeah, opposition's terrible. Like, let's be honest. I expected him to perform against this sort of team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, because of his potential or probable lack of fitness still, not having really done preseason, and then having played like 80 odd minutes yesterday, I very much doubt he's going to start against Forest. But after international break, I really want to see him get, regular game time also in the Prem, because I want to see more of him, and I want to see how he develops, and I want to see if he can get a bit more end product to his game, because his dribbling is clearly brilliant. His touch, his running is, like I say, dribbling is really, really good. Just needs to find that final pass or that final finish, needs to maybe come to him a little bit more. But if he can, he's the top player. Otherwise, he's a bit of a Ben Arfa. But, Ben Arfa is also fun to watch. So.
It's a good point, because he did miss a really easy chance. Like, he had to score that one-on-one.
I can't lie. I forgot about that. So I'm going to bring it down to 7.5. I forgot about that.
Fair. All right, 7.5 it shall be. And let's get to Mason Bursto. Just released a little, almost mini doc of, his path at Chelsea so far. I haven't had a chance to watch it just yet. Apparently, he's come across really well from it, which makes me feel a bit bad, because I'm going to be quite harsh now, because he was dreadful. He was dreadful, like he was in the preseason game against Dortmund. I know he scored in the end, but that was just the ball fell to him. I don't think he's very good. I know, obviously, he's not Jackson, but I mean, you say that. Jackson nearly went to Bournemouth last January if he didn't fail the medical because he was still injured, right? Jackson 6 months ago was rated, quotation marks, I guess, that much higher than Bursto. Sure, older and stuff, but still, it's not it. Just look at what Jackson did when he came on, how much Jackson offered himself to receive the ball, drop deep, made runs, left, right, touches, dribbling. Bursto just did nothing. He had 16 touches in 65 minutes. Okay, the passing weren't bad. 9 out of 12 passes, good. But he had one shot, and that got blocked. Nothing else. He was only in 2 ground duels, won none of them. had no cross, never drifted out wide to like get himself on the ball. He just did nothing. And I just think like when you get your chance as a young striker at Chelsea, especially while the situation at Chelsea is how it is, with, we have Jackson, we have Broja, but he's still injured and only coming back, and we're seemingly not signing another striker. Like, if he impressed, he could get himself at least that third striker spot for a while. But he's had a preseason game now, even though he scored in the end, and yesterday, and in neither of those, I don't know, he just didn't seem like a player that was like, okay, I'm fighting to potentially get myself a spot. Now, he will probably go on loan anyway. We'll see. There's still obviously 2 days left, well, tonight and tomorrow. But I just weren't happy. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because obviously the rest of the team behind him in terms of the attacking phase, other than Noni, were really all pretty poor, and he never got any of the ball, and Wimbledon sat obviously super deep, so make it difficult for the striker. But again, look at Jackson in the second half. Like, look at how much he got on the ball. Look at how much he did, how many chances he set up, how many chances he had for himself. Bursto did none of that. I'm going to say 3, and that's probably being nice, considering I gave Moreira a 1. Maybe I should even say 2. But because a striker and a bit difficult to get on the ball, maybe I'll say 3. But it just weren't... I didn't like it. I don't know if you boys saw it the same as I did, but it just wasn't great. Pice, what did you make of Bursto in that sense? Maybe you saw it differently in the stadium? Could be.
Nope, I didn't. You literally explained everything that I could have possibly said.
Right.
He was bad. I don't want to bash the kid. Obviously, he's an academy product, but he doesn't look like someone that's, like, we get all these brilliant talents from our academy. Like, he just looks like a level below, like the actual, like, proper talent, like the really good talent. I'm sure there's a player in there somewhere, but we haven't seen it so far. Like, let's be honest, even his goal in pre-season was a header. Like, it was in front of goal. It was pretty lucky in some senses. So, like, I think you made a great point. Like, he's got this chance now. He's a young striker. Like, how often do you get these chances at Chelsea? With it's just, he's not going to make it. Let's be honest. I think he's not done enough every time I've seen him. And offering the ball, he just doesn't seem like he's up there. Like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't make runs. He doesn't come to the ball. He doesn't drop deep. It's just weird. It's really, really weird. I have to give him a 1, honestly. Give him a 1.
Okay. Fair. Maybe I have gone just too high. You know what? I'll take it down to a 2, because if you're going 1, I can't go 3, I feel like. Unless Aaron goes 3 as well, then I might change my mind again. Aaron, would you go along with a 1, a 3, a 2? Whereabouts would you go for Bursto, and what did you make of him?
I honestly did not notice him at all on the pitch. Like, I didn't even know he was playing most of the time. I barely saw him touch it. Granted, he was on the other side of the pitch, so I didn't really see much. But even when he was at my end, he'd done nothing. So, yeah, I'd go along with whatever you guys want, really, because I don't know what to say. He didn't get involved at all. He was basically just as bad as Moreira. Maybe slightly better, because I saw Moreira just do a lot of shit, and I didn't see Bursto do as much shit. But yeah, he done nothing. So probably like a 2 if Moreira's a 1.
Yeah, no, there you go. I would see that as roughly fair as well. All right, 1.5 overall then, and we get to the subs, the ones that essentially won us the game, saved us the game. We start with Nicholas Jackson. Obviously, he came on at halftime. Didn't get a goal. He had 1 shot, which was a shot on target, at least forced a save from the keeper, but he should have had a few assists, honestly, if I remember correctly. Had a few nice dribbles. I mean, the stats are good. 96% pass accuracy, especially in the position he played, is very good. What else am I seeing here? I mean, he had 2 out of 4 ground duels, is all right. 2 out of 3 dribbles is decent as well. So yeah, I'd probably give Jackson like a 6.5. Would you agree with that, Pice, or what would you give Jackson?
6 for me, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, probably a 6. Like, I think he did okay, but I mean,
all right.
Yeah, he's our starting striker though. Like, I think, I expected him to come on and play decent. I just think he did all right. I'll go 6.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'll agree. Aaron, would you agree as well, or do you think he deserves more than an average 6? I'm not sure if you're aware that you're muted because you left and region.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I was speaking.
Oh,
I didn't realize. I said 6. Nothing out of this world. Just did what he had to do when he came on.
There you go. Fair play. Fair enough. We get to Enzo Fernandez.
Can I just say, like, one thing on Jackson, I would like to see him be more selfish. Like, he's so good at linking up play and finding others and touching and holding. Like, I want to see him be more selfish. Like, I think he can get more goals because if he actually like shoots on sight rather than like, it was a couple of occasions last night where he got the ball quite near the penalty box, like just outside, and he passed it wide. And I'm just thinking, like, if you're like an Ivan Toney or a Harry Kane, like you're shooting there, like you're trying to score. I feel like he's too unselfish at
But
times.
Ivan Toney and Harry Kane can't dribble like Jackson does, so you know.
True, but like in
you know.
terms of shooting, like I feel like he'd get extra goals, like if he just shot more. Like he doesn't shoot enough for me.
Maybe he just doesn't back his own shooting. Obviously, he started as a winger, innit? So like
He needs to, because I think there's more goals there for him. Honestly, if he's more unselfish, he could get even more goals, I think.
All right, fair dues, fair dues. I don't even disagree. Honestly, I'm just I haven't seen him shoot enough, especially from range, to judge whether I want him to do that more or not. But yeah, let's get to Enzo Fernandez. Finally got his first goal for the club. What a shame it wasn't against West Ham, because then we would have won that game and probably be on 3 points more in the Premier League right now. But he didn't. But at least he got it yesterday. It was a happy moment. It was a winner at least. And it's kind of funny. Like, yesterday was the very first time he didn't start since joining Chelsea. And it was the first time he scored. Isn't that funny? I think that's fine. Yeah. But obviously he should have scored the one at the end. But, I mean, obviously Jackson 2 at halftime. But when Enzo came on, like, the whole game changed. Like, it was like an immediate, and you're like, obviously, he's a World Cup winner. He's a £105 million player. And we were playing against a League Two team. But still, when he came on, you could see, Gallagher and Ugochukwu and Madueke, they were all already before, and obviously our defenders were a step above, 2 steps, 3 steps above Wimbledon. But then Enzo came on, and he just took it another 1 or 2 steps higher, in my opinion. Like, he's so good. And I know that's easy to praise a player of his ability when he's playing against a League Two team. But I still think, in terms of helping us win the game, as a sub, I'm also giving him a 7.5. Maybe I could even give him an 8, but I don't want to give him higher than Noni and Madueke, so I'll say 7.5 as well. But yeah, obviously won us the game in the end. Should have had another, but he was the decisive game changer for me. So 7.5, I think, seems about right. Aaron, would you go along with that? Both the rating and the assessment?
Yeah, pretty much. You said everything I was going to say.
Sorry, I need to let you guys go first. I'm back. Pies, anything you want to add?
I'll go a 7 because I can't. That sitter, man. It was an open goal still. Like I don't care. Like you got to score that.
I mean, you could say without the sitter, you got an 8. Do you know what I mean? I still give him 7.
No, I'll go 7 because of the opponent. Like I don't want to go too high. Like, but I do agree. He did. It was different. Like he came on. And I was just like, okay, like we actually might win the game now. We might create something. Like the first thing, first couple of things he did was play a couple over top balls, and Jackson nearly got on the end of them. It's just like no one had done that the whole game, and he just comes on, and does it straight away. Like we just weren't threatening enough until he came on. So yeah, you could tell the difference. But yeah, I'll go 7.
Fair dues, 2 7.5s and a 7, so leave it at a 7.5. And I guess we get to the next guy. Malo Gusto came on for Levi Colwill, obviously then playing right back, not centre back. But yeah, I mean, I know he played the exact same amount of minutes as Enzo, but obviously because we had all of the ball, and even though he was involved in attacking, he had 35 touches. I don't know. I just probably want to give him an A, if I'm honest. Like, didn't really do that much. So, I mean, you down for an NA, Pice? Or do you think you should get a rating?
Honestly, I'm down for an NA. There was he had one run forward.
Yeah.
And then just stopped instead of crossing and passed it back. It's the only time I recognised him genuinely.
No, there you go. I probably agree. Aaron, NA for you too?
Yep. I didn't notice him much when he came on, to be fair.
There you go. Fair play. And obviously Caicedo, I think, came on like the 81st minute or whatever. Didn't play enough. Even though him and Enzo did a lot of nice passing between each other to kind of make Wimbledon look a bit silly towards the end. So that was quite fun to watch. But then we finish it off with a rating for Mr. Pochettino on the night. So I don't take all of the words out of your mouth again. Aaron, I'll let you go first. What did you make of Poch? Obviously, lineup, what we did in the game, subs, all of that together. What rating does that give Poch for you?
The lineup was a bit confusing. Didn't really understand it when we saw it on paper. Did well. He brought on big guns in order to beat Wimbledon. So it tells you a lot about his starting lineup that he chose. So wasn't the greatest, but he made the subs at the right time. It's productive to see subs at half time rather than just waiting until like the 60th, 70th minute. So that was good from him. So I'd probably go like a 5 because he didn't do great with the starting lineup, but did well to change it when we needed to.
Yeah, fair enough, Pice. I'll put it to you before I speak more waffle again. Would you go along with Aaron's 5 or something different?
I'd probably go over 6, just because I think it was an average evening. I think we got the job done. We didn't play great. We didn't play bad. The lineup, I think he kind of has to do this lineup though, in some senses. Like he has to give Moreira and Humphreys a chance. He has to give Jackson some rest, So like we can't play strongest team all the time. The Petrovic one I'm confused though. Like why did he not start? I'm confused on that. If he was ready to play, I'm just confused. But just because I don't know the full details of that, like I don't know. Like I'll give him a 6, and it was good to see him bring subs on, like as well. Like obviously at halftime he brought Jackson on. I think was it halftime? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So
I was like, yeah, like at least he's not like fucking about and seeing what happens and that sort of thing. So. Yeah, I think I didn't watch the interview after, but someone said like there was an interview he did and he looked quite sort of like downbeat. It was almost like he was a bit. Some people thought he was a bit like disappointed with some of the stuff he saw, and I wouldn't blame him, to be honest. I think he was probably expecting more from like Moreira, Bursto, and obviously just 2-1 against Wimbledon's not the greatest scoreline as well, is it? So
no, it was weird because like. He looked a bit downbeat. I agree. I watched at least on Chelsea's post-match interview. I'm not sure if he gave another one. It did look a bit downbeat, but everything he said, he was like, yeah, we played good. It was a good performance. I'm like, was it? I would probably go with, in terms of the lineup, I agree with you, Pice. Like, what else can he really do? I mean, he already rested really as much as he could. Like, he took everyone off that he really could have taken off. We didn't have any other centre-backs available, and one of them played at right back anyway. So, yeah, I think I just say 5, but overall that obviously gives us a 5.5. But yeah, through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Pice touched on it earlier. We were drawn against Brighton at home in the third round, which we'll play at some point, I think, in late September. So yeah, that is the next one. That will obviously be a bit more interesting than yesterday, but hopefully a little bit, well, one thing's for sure, at least it will be televised because we're playing Brighton. So, positives everywhere, I suppose. But yeah, that's that. A chance for some of these youngsters. Some of them didn't take them. Some of them kind of did. But obviously always a bit difficult when it's against League 2 opposition. But we're not done here yet, ladies and gentlemen. We have plenty of kind of transfer and Chelsea-related news still to talk about. So we will get that, start with that straight off the bat. And we will start it with a here we go for Cole Palmer to Chelsea. Agreement in principle reached with Manchester City. That is from yesterday. He then today completed his medical and the announcement is expected to come tomorrow. But yeah, agreement in principle reached with Manchester City on £40 million deal plus $5 million in add-ons. Exclusive news revealed earlier, blah, blah, blah. Medical tests to be booked soon. They have now taken place. Pice, the fan base seem a little bit undecided about this signing. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not even sure if I'm undecided. I just don't know yet because I've seen him a few times. Obviously, he scored that great goal in the Community Shield, but we always say it's a friendly. So do we give that any relevance? We don't care about the other friendlies, do we? But he scored also their goal in the Super Cup, which in the end City won on penalties. And he did get involved every now and again. I think he scored a couple of goals last season and got a couple of assists, but didn't play that much. It's a lot of money for someone that's barely played. It's nearly the same amount of money as we got for Mason Mount. Now, obviously, contract length plays a big role in how much you get for a player and how much you sell a player for. But
is it? I mean, it's 15 mil less base fee. I mean, it's quite a big difference to be fair. 55.
It is true. Was it not 50 plus 5 for Mount?
I think it was. Was it? No, I think it was 55 plus 5.
It could be. You could be right. Yeah,
there's been so many transfers this summer. My head's spinning, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very true. It is very true. But even still, right? Like it's still somewhat close. And you're like, well, the guys played 1,300 minutes for City, while Mount did that in a month. You know what I mean? But still, he's a talented player. He can shoot. He's versatile in terms of playing on the wing, playing centrally, which is kind of exactly what we were looking for and what we needed. So, there you go. I mean, Robbie says, Laurenz, how much did we sell Hall for? 18 years old and played a handful of first team games. Well, he played less than Palmer did, but he's 3 years younger than Palmer, to be fair, or 2.5 years, whatever you want to call it. We sold him, I think, on tops. I think it was 28 million base fee and 35 million in total. But yeah, Pies, what do you make of the signing?
I think the money's based on the talent he has. They rejected a £30 million bid from Brighton. So I just the thing is like with our fans, the only reasons they're putting up to not want him is literally nothing to do with the player. It's like either he's not got enough experience, or it's like, oh, City want to sell him, which they don't because they've just got so many other attacking players, and also the player wants to play more football. So I think it's interesting that he's decided to choose us. I mean, he must have been given assurances on some sort of, I'd imagine, starting role from now until when Nkunku comes back. Probably, I think he will play a lot for us. But yeah,
unless Poch says he needs a few weeks for preseason first.
Oh yeah, hopefully not. But he's a talented player. He's versatile as well. I think he fits the profile we were looking for, because I'm pretty sure he was more of a central player to start with, and then he kind of pushed out wide. So
because City don't really use a central 10 until now.
No, yeah, and obviously, like in midfield, they obviously have Bernardo Silva, who's just ridiculous, and they're buying others as well. So I think if you look at based on the player as well, he's like they sell Mahrez, and then they just sign Doku straight away. Like it doesn't send much of a message, like a great message. But every time like Pep's talked about him, like he's saying how much he believes in him, and it's just a weird situation, like why he's decided to leave. But I like it. Honestly, I don't think it's a terrible signing. I think it will be a good signing. He's young, which obviously is a positive in terms of development. And I think the biggest thing he brings is like the ability to shoot, and he doesn't mind shooting. Like every time I've watched him, he likes cutting in and shooting. And we don't really have a player like that, to be honest with you. Like, it gives that element of unpredictability in a sense. So, obviously we had Ziyech who did that, but he's left, and he's obviously he had other things in his game that weren't great. So, yeah, I like it. I like the signing. I'm intrigued to see how he does. I don't think it's a certain hit. Like I don't think he'll 100% do great things here, but I think he could do great things here. And I think playing for City, already delivering on big stages like the Super Cup final, like how he scored that goal, and even the Community Shield. I don't rate the Community Shield, but it was Arsenal's strongest team pretty much, and he did score. The opening goal was a great goal. It's not like a tap-in or something. So he does seem to have that moment in him. He scored it already in the Champions League when he's played. So yeah, I don't mind him. I think it's an interesting signing. It's just one that I didn't expect at all, though. Like I just didn't expect him to be playing for us. To be honest, I think he just kind of came out of nowhere, but that's what we were expecting. Fabrizio did say some sort of surprise. So yeah, and it seems to be backed by Joe Shields as well, who we have no real reason to sort of say, well, you shouldn't be involved in signings. Well, his talent identification in the past has obviously been really good. He got us Lavia, so yeah, I think there's a lot of positives. I don't really understand the negatives. Like no one's really said a good explanation as to why we shouldn't be happy with this.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like you were also listening to it, Mo. Some of you might know him from the streams. His brother is a Man City fan, so due to that, he says he's watched Cole Palmer a few times, also in the City Academy, the youth teams, but also for the first team a fair few times. He says he's never really stood out to him as being particularly great. I don't know. Like I like the fact that he is exactly what, in my opinion, we needed. A player that, well, initially started as a 10, I guess, but he's now a bit more so for winger, just because that's where Pep's used him for the last few years of his young development still. But he can still play as a 10. Like he's that versatile type player. He's not outrageously expensive. Oh, apparently Mudryk is back in training. That is fantastic. That is brilliant news. But also, like, compared to some of the other names we were linked with, Brennan Johnson, I prefer Cole Palmer. Rafinha would have cost a lot more money, in my opinion, and would potentially have been an issue once Nkunku is back, or it would have meant Madueke never plays. Then we were linked to else. Were we Ansu bloody Fati? No thanks. Have fun at Brighton. Don't need that. Who else were we linked with? Like some players where I really wasn't all that. Ferran Torres, I really wasn't all that excited about. Now people know I would have much preferred still Michael Olise, But unfortunately, after that fell through, I don't mind Cole Palmer as the next choice. I'll be perfectly honest. Aaron, where do you sit on Cole Palmer?
I'm not moved by Cole Palmer, to be honest. Like when I watch him, I'm never sat there thinking, wow, like this kid's really good, like this, that, the other. I'm not really that moved by the signing, I'll be real. I do understand the points that you're saying in terms of he's a bit more direct and likes to cut in and shoot. I do get that we don't have that in the squad currently. Like Madueke coming off the right side doesn't really cut inside and shoot. Sterling on that right side doesn't cut inside because it's not his favoured foot. So he'll tend to try and go outside. But just for me, I'm not particularly that, like, especially for 40 plus 5 mil, like it's a lot of money for someone who doesn't particularly excite me all that much. Like I know you just said if it was between him and Brennan Johnson, you'd prefer Cole Palmer, but I'm the opposite. I'd prefer Brennan Johnson because I see a lot more of Brennan Johnson on a weekly basis, so I have a lot more sample size to judge of. Granted, Brennan Johnson hasn't played in
you have too much time on your hands if you watch Forest weekly basis.
Bro, whenever football's on the TV, I'll watch it. Like I'll just sit there. I'll watch random games if I have to. They're Premier League games, but beside the point, it's kind of like I see a lot more of Brennan Johnson than I do of Cole Palmer, so I've got a bigger sample size to go off. And with Brennan Johnson, I see that he's good in the dribble. He can score some goals as well. He's good with his link up with like him and Awani. They will link up well. Like he's got Gibbs White who plays with him as well, who they form a good partnership.
But surely it's a bit harsh to hold that against Cole Palmer because like he's at Man City, so obviously it's going to be a bit more difficult to get regular game time and therefore for you to see him regularly. You know, like I feel like.
But then that's the point. That's the point entirely. Is I can only go off of what I've seen, and from what I've seen of Cole Palmer, granted he's played in bigger stages like Champions League, Super Cup, Community Shield, whatever. Like he's played in games that have meant something more than the kind of games Brennan Johnson plays in. But when I've seen him play, yeah, he scored a good goal in the Community Shield. He got the goal in the Super Cup that took it to penalties and they won it. But those are big goals. But we've had someone before who scored a big goal, and other than that big goal, was pretty shit for most of his time here. So. It's and
when you compare Kai Havertz at the age that Cole Palmer is now, Cole Palmer looks a bit like a.
I respect Darren, but these are not really reasons for me as to why he doesn't move you. Like what? So because he's not an insane dribbler, or just like
no, I don't think it's anything to do with being an insane dribbler or whatever. But you know, like there's times where you look at stats and you see kind of what players do on the pitch, but a lot of the times it's you go off the eye test and. When you're watching the player, like, do they excite you? Do they do this? Do they do that? Do you like the way they do this? That with Cole Palmer, I haven't seen much of him, and when I have, obviously I'm going off a small sample size, but when I have, I've not been that excited. It's not like like he's really quick or he's really good at dribbling. Or he's a good finisher, blah blah.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
I think he's a good finisher, but I agree in terms of like he's not someone that like gets you off your seat. Like he's not some sort of insanely direct. Brilliant dribbler, but I think he's more of an intelligent player than that. Like I think he's more towards the intelligent side where he'll pick his runs really nicely, like the goal in the Super Cup final. I think in terms of when, like he knows when to burst and when to not burst. Like I quite like that from him as well. I mean, even last season, when he came on against us, and I remember Aspi like pressured him and he just stopped, waited for Aspi to come close, and then just turned the other way and spun him. Like I think he's more of an intelligent player more than just like a player that just like a Doku, for example, or someone like that. But I also thought the same about Elise, by the way. I think Elise is more like I don't know. Elise wasn't someone that gets you crazily excited on the ball. He's just very intelligent and a great passer and that type of thing.
Yeah,
he's also tall for a winger.
Honestly, I haven't seen enough of Cole Palmer, and yeah, even though when I've seen City games that he's played in. I didn't necessarily always like pay full attention to the game, like was with other people or was my phone or like, and if, you know, even if I did pay more attention, I didn't necessarily pay close attention to Cole Palmer specifically. Right. So I'm like, I'm not going to claim to like know that much where I'm like, I'll just wait. Now we've signed him anyway. I know we're going to sign him anyway. I'll just wait and see what I see from him at Chelsea. And I know that's maybe a little bit basic, but for me, to make it from the City Academy into Pep's first team, to get minutes at least every now and again, play in various positions, get important goals. If you are good enough to make Pep think you're good enough, you got to be good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, Pep is Pep. Name me one young player that Pep had that didn't turn out to be good. other than maybe Bojan Krikic. Was Bojan playing under Pep? I can't remember. But do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll give him that. I'll give him that. But he's, like I say, he's also 21. Now, he has only just turned 21, and at the end of the season, he was 20. But still, like, when you compare a few other players at that age, they've certainly done a lot more than Palmer has. But again, that comes from being at a club like Man City. Like, that also can be said for a lot of the youngsters that we had at our club. Now, a lot of them didn't work out necessarily, like Hudson-Odoi or Loftus-Cheek or whatever. But when you compare them at certain ages to players, that young talented players that played at lesser clubs, then obviously their numbers were much better because they got more of a chance. And it's always, for good talented players, it's always easier to stand out in a worse team than it is to stand out in a better team. It's as simple as that. Like, that's my judgment from what Aaron said about Brennan Johnson. I'm like, well, yeah, Brennan Johnson looks good for Forest because Forest are overall not very good. Obviously, it's much more difficult for Cole Palmer to stand out in a Man City team when you're surrounded by Jack Grealish and Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland and Julian Alvarez. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, yeah, this is not great analysis from my end. I'm very aware of that. But to put it as simply as, if you make it under Pep, you can't be that bad, right? So I'll take it. And we'll see how it goes. Like I say, I'm not 100% sure what we would have done without the injuries. Like, say Carney did get injured, say Nkunku didn't get injured. Would we have signed anyone? Would we have signed someone different in that area of the pitch? I don't know. I genuinely do not know. But hey, here he is now. Let's see what he does. Likelihood is we're going to play him quite a bit more than he played at City, so that will only increase his value, even if he's not that amazing. So, yeah, I don't mind it, but I'm certainly happy to give him that chance at Chelsea.
He does seem a little bit scrawny, though, like very thin. I don't know whether he's...
Yeah, he has a bit of Kai Havertz about him, 6'2".
Yeah, very tall,
it's true. When I watched him in the past, like the way he runs and stuff, it does remind you of Havertz because he's not that he's not rapid either.
No.
Oh god.
He's quite. I don't know. I'd say he's quite strong. I would say though. Like I never really noticed him being like shoved about like that type of thing. Again, I think that's smart. Like he knows when to pass. Like he knows when to make a run with the ball. From what I've seen. So I think we just have to see what happens. Like I don't think anyone should draw like major conclusions one way or the other. Like,
I agree. And to be honest, I don't necessarily think Aaron is doing that. I think all Aaron is saying that by what he's seen so far, he's not necessarily moved yet. But that doesn't mean he can't still be moved by Palmer at Chelsea. Am I right in saying that?
I'm more than willing to be proven wrong at the end of the day. If I get proven wrong, that's to the team's benefit. So that's more to my benefit. You know what I mean? So if he proves me wrong, then that's even better. But it's just going off what I've seen so far of his career.
Yeah, and that's fair. And hey, if you can only say what you've seen and you stand by what you've seen so far, and that's
now,
fair
obviously,
enough,
if he sits there and performs really well, then I can easily hold my hands up and say, okay, I wasn't familiar with your game. I didn't know you had this about you, and okay, I'm wrong. But until I don't see it, I can only go off sort of what I have seen so far.
Yeah, there you go. Fair play. Let's get into the Marc Cucurella saga, shall we call it? Now, first we got this. Well, this was actually today. Marc Cucurella to Man United is currently complicated after his appearance last night. So that was the first weird bit. And then I quoted this by saying, well, I wonder or I hope if we knew about that in advance, like that him playing for us yesterday, especially playing the 490 as well, could make this complicated. Now, personally, I know Ornstein said this, but I personally don't really think that was necessarily the decisive factor here because we also got this information. This has since been confirmed by others. I'll bring another couple of tweets up now in a second. But this tweet was also from earlier today. It was Manchester United want the option to terminate Cucurella's loan in January. They have now turned their attention to Reguilon. We have since then got a here we go for Reguilon to Manchester United, including where is it? There it is. I mean, I guess I could do that one first. Manchester United now advancing in talks to sign Sergio Reguilon from Tottenham. As per David Ornstein, Cucurella deal could collapse as Man United want clause to terminate deal in January. And then just to follow it up and finish it off, let me bring it up. This is the here we go for Sergio Reguilon to Manchester United. And it has, Fabrizio does confirm there will be a clause to break loan deal in January. And now, I understand that every Chelsea fan, or almost every Chelsea fan, wanted to get rid of Cucurella and was even happy to send him on a straight loan to United. Now, I was not fully sold on it from the get-go because I'm like, why Why would I loan? Like, if they had at least an option, fair enough. But just a straight loan, when you know for a fact they don't want to keep him, then we got learned it's even more of a fact because they wanted to essentially send him back in January. They literally just wanted a left back that has a little bit of Premier League experience because Luke Shaw is injured. That's all they wanted. And do I really want to help Man United out in that situation? Absolutely not. So for me, I'm happy that we didn't go with this. Like, I understand we want to get rid of him and everything, but we're not going to sign anybody else now. So you can't even say, getting his wages off the book will make such a big difference anymore. Nah, horseshit. Doesn't make a difference now. Now, of course, if this impacts Martin, if it now means Martin is sold, or if it means Martin will continue to refuse to sign a new contract, then it's not good. I understand that. But I still don't think a loan, especially if they were going to send him back in January, was going to be good for anybody. For anybody that has to do with Chelsea, because if he goes there, he either has a good time and will then be happy there and will not be happy when he has to come back here, or he doesn't have a good time and will just, in general, his mentality won't be great because they sent him back. I find it weird that he agreed personal terms if he was aware that they want a clause that they can break the contract deal in January. I find that strange that he was so happy to agree to that, but I guess it gave him game time for a little while. He probably also wants to go to the Euros next year. I'm not sure how likely that is. But for me, I think it's a better decision to not have him go there on loan. Would I still like to see Cucurella go somewhere permanently in an ideal world? Yeah. But not on loan. Not on loan that could break in January. Not to a direct rival for top 4 in Manchester United. It's not great for me. Aaron, I'll go to you first. I understand you don't rate Cucurella. I'm aware of that. I understand most don't, and I don't particularly rate him either. But yeah, it's I don't think loaning to a direct rival, if they essentially want to send him back in January anyway, is what we should have done.
Yeah, loaning directly to them in order to help their situation because Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia are both injured is stupid, and they're struggling a lot because they're being forced to play Diogo Dalot left back, and then that's their right back cover gone as well. And they're only.
I'm surprised they don't just play Martin as a left back, to be honest. But
what's that, sorry?
I'm surprised they don't just play Lisandro Martinez at left back, to be honest.
The thing is, if they play Lisandro at left back, then Varane's out injured as well, so that means they've got Lindelof and Maguire in the middle, and Leach has been playing well as a centre half, so you wouldn't want to move him out of the centre half position to left back. But yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about United, but yeah, it wouldn't make sense to loan him to a direct rival, help them out in that situation, and then bring him back after 6 months where we don't want him either. So it would have been stupid, and I'd rather not help them out than send him there. As much as we don't really want to see him play here, it doesn't make sense to send him there, help them out. So in the end, I think it's the decision is probably best for both parties, just because otherwise he could have gone there, helped them out, and then come back, and we don't want him, and then we're stuck with him anyway. So it's probably done us well that they've gone and signed Reguilon.
Yeah, there you go. I'm in a similar boat. Pice, you don't fully agree, or did the whole them wanting that clause to send him back in January, did that make even you think it's better to? Because then he would be back in January anyway. Then it wouldn't even really solve our squad issue because he's now played for us already yesterday. So if United did send him back in January, we couldn't even loan him out to somebody else. So at that point, whether he's here from now to January or not, what difference does it make if he would have been here from January till May anyway?
Because I think if he played well, then Man, you wouldn't have sent him back.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have played well, though. Like, you don't rate him, so surely you can't think he would have played well.
I think
otherwise, if you think he could, then you surely...
No, but United's like decision makers are just idiots. Like, they've just signed Reguilon. Like, Cucurella could do the bare minimum and they wouldn't send him back. I still wouldn't think that would be like amazing. So I would have sent him there. I would have sent him there for free, to be honest with you. I just think he causes squad problems for us. Like, he just does. Like, I agree
with you, but if all they're doing this for is because Shaw and Malacia are injured, and then Malacia and Shaw are not injured anymore, then they don't want him anymore. Like, otherwise they wouldn't have asked for.
We need to send him somewhere before the deadline ends, because otherwise, like, even if this United move wasn't good, we need to sort something out for him because he's just blocking paths and he's just not good. He's not good. Like, Poch clearly doesn't like him. Like, it's simple. So I don't understand why. I don't know, man. Yeah. I wouldn't give him.
I'm still not so sold on it, especially I'm still yet to see what system are we going to play. Is it going to be Colwill left back regularly? Because that type of left back, Cucurella is actually perfectly suited to that style left back, like almost like a left centre back, left back kind of hybrid role, almost like exactly what he did at Brighton.
His 1v1 defending though is just so mid, man. Like,
I don't even disagree with you on that. I don't even disagree. It's not like I disagree. It's like, yeah, if I could go back in time, I would also not sign him. But that doesn't mean I want to help out Man United. Do you know what I mean? Is he on 175k a week? I'm not sure if that's true, but I couldn't tell you. But yeah, I mean, how do you see that, Aaron? Like, obviously, you and me agreed helping United out in that sense wouldn't have been the smartest idea. But do you still see what Pice is saying? Like, because to me, it's like the likelihood that they would have then kept him in January if just Malacia and Shaw are back is close to zero. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so adamant to want that clause. And once we said no to that clause, they immediately went to someone different. That tells me they didn't have a single spare thought about keeping him for any second longer than they have to. So that says he's here from January to May anyway, like you obviously said in our group chat, because he played yesterday. So if he's going to be a squad issue from January to May, what difference does it make if he's also a squad issue from now till January? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nearly September already.
Yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying. And the reason why I still think that it probably just works out well that we haven't ended up sending him there is also we have to remember that Chilwell's injury record isn't exactly the greatest. And if something was to happen to Chilwell, for instance, and Chilwell goes out with an injury, then we don't have Lewis Hall around anymore. So all we're going to have is Ian Martin. And Poch hasn't played Ian Martin.
And I've not seen Ian Martin one-on-one defend. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I've not seen it. So I couldn't tell you if he can.
I didn't tune into Burnley last season, so I don't know what Ian Martin was like when he was playing at left back. But if Ian Martin is then your left back cover, you have one fit left back if anything happens to Chilwell. And if Chilwell's been out with long injuries before, there's nothing to say it can't happen again. Same thing with Reece James. Reece James being out now, at least we've got cover in Malo Gusto. With Ben Chilwell, if Ben Chilwell's out, then Martin slots in there, who's been playing as more of an attacking player we haven't really seen what he's like in the defensive phase. So in order to just cover your own back, even if he barely plays, just keeping Cucurella around might just be the best option in the event that anything like that does happen to Chilwell.
There you go. Yeah, I don't fully disagree. I don't fully quite agree with what you're saying. I think Martin would be all right for that.
But it's just we don't know. It's a very unknown element because we haven't seen exactly how it plays out.
No, it's very true. It's a good point. It's a good point. But then I have seen the Cucurella doesn't work out, right?
That's also true. Very true.
But yeah, I like if a different offer comes in tomorrow, I'm not saying I'm saying no to it, but I don't want to for 6 months send him to Man United just to help them over the injury struggles.
Yeah, of course.
Who's helping us through our injury struggles? No, everyone's telling us to go do one. So why should we play? The bloody Red Cross for Manchester United, but no one's helping us out. Like, no, I'm not entertaining that. But a last bit of transfer news before we talk about a couple of other smaller things before we wrap this one up. Surprise, surprise, Chelsea are signing another child. Honestly, at some point, someone needs to check our directors and owners' hard drives because this is getting a bit dodgy now. What is this? Another one, another midfielder. This is the fourth DM that's under 21 we're signing this summer. I do not understand what the plan is. I get, sell them one for profit, but you can't sell them all. You can't have four at the same time. There's not going to be four teams at the same time that want a young DM, even in 3 years' time. So how are you going to have four suitors? Lavia is obviously going to stay and Caicedo is obviously going to stay. So two, you're still not always going to have enough. And we all rate Santos that highly. So, Santos is probably never going to play for us, really. We have Lavia and Caicedo now. What's Santos going to do? And we add another one to it. No, I have no idea about Gabriel Moscardo. But 21 million euros fixed fee. My days. I don't know, man. Money everywhere. But it took us 3 months to offer 100 million for Caicedo. It's just weird. I don't like it. It's too much. Stop it. I know that's what we're doing now, and I have to accept it. But at least buy them in different fucking positions. They're literally all midfielders. What the fuck? Stop it. For the love of God, stop buying midfielders. My days, it's really annoying me. And I know it shouldn't annoy me as much as it does, but it's just go away. Stop signing young midfielders. like pisses me off. But yeah, again, I've obviously no idea if he's any good or not or whatever. And he would only join us in 2024 because he's still 17 and wouldn't be allowed to play for us now. But yeah, I mean, Pice, you probably don't see it to the same extreme as I do, but does it annoy you a little bit that it's another one of those, or are you already fine with it?
Bro, I can't lie. I used to fight this so much. I used to try and understand it. I used to want to understand it. I used to want to know more, but I just see a new tweet. Like, we'll probably sign another 3 more in January. Like, it's whatever. Like, Ugochukwu, you know, there's positives with it because Ugochukwu was going to go out on loan and now magically he's staying. So maybe some of them will stick around. This guy certainly won't. But my main thing is the fees we're paying for this guy is just ridiculous. Like, they're just
like 21 million is not that little. Half
Bro.
of Spain, Italy, and Liga can't even afford any player for 21 million euros. So who are we
17
gonna
years
sell them
old.
to for profit?
17 years old, and this kid is going for about 20 million pounds. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I know we can, you know, we might sell him for 40 mil, but that's the main thing with me. I don't like this idea of becoming a Dortmund or a Leipzig or whatever. I don't want to be a selling club because, you know, we sell all these guys. We'll sell Santos or we'll sell this guy or whoever. One of them is going to be sold for double the profit, right? And then they're going to get sold to a Premier League team, and then they're going to end
play
up
against us, and we're going to look like morons.
Bro, 100%. This is my problem. This is going to happen if we keep doing this. Like,
Exactly,
in a
because,
few years.
and I said this in the group chat earlier, only Prem clubs have this serious money. So only Prem clubs will take these players off us for us to make serious profit. So they will go to Prem clubs.
But even if we sell, like, for example, let's just say Cassidy, yeah. Even if Leicester decide to buy him for 30 mil, right, and we sign him for 18 mil, I think, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
£12 million profit, right, on the books, whatever. Like, he could do a good season for Leicester, and then Arsenal could sign him for 50 mil, and then, you know what I mean? Like,
he could then start for them. Do you know what I mean?
He could end up being an Arsenal player. Like, I don't like that. Like, especially when you're trying to get attachment to these guys, you don't know who to be attached to. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't. It's just that's my main thing that I don't like about it. It's like we don't know who to back. We don't know who to.
Like, I'm
be
genuinely
excited
just not going
by,
to follow any of our loanies because I don't believe I can't believe that any of them will be used anyway. So I don't want to get attached to any of them.
It's just confusing. Like, yeah.
You know, if one or two of these guys were bought by Strasbourg and they were then if they ever came good, we would then buy them off Strasbourg. I would understand that a bit more, but obviously Strasbourg can't just spend 21 million euros on a 17-year-old midfielder because they have their own financial fair play and Liga financial restrictions that they have to abide by. So they can't just buy, you know, players for this kind of money. Like, you know, I mean, H-Naku said it here, 21 million euros would set my life. I mean, it would set all of our lives combined, mate. But when you think about it, they literally just stopped subsidizing the club coach or went from £10 to up to £40. But you're happy to spend 21 after 21 million pounds or euros on youngsters that no one will ever know. Like, how about instead of spending 20 million on a Brazilian youngster that will never play for us, how about you keep giving fans the club coach for £10? How about you start with that? You know, sort your priorities out a little bit. How about that? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, there's no problem with this guy at all. And it's not like I, in general, have a problem with the idea, but too many at the same time. Like, if we did like 1 or 2 or 3 of these 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds every year to do for this whole process that we're doing, fair. Like, a couple of years, sure. But just this year alone, we bought like 20 of them. And I just do not understand, like, because does it feel like we'll stop? Doesn't feel like we'll stop to me. So I have to expect us we'll get another 5 next year and another 5 the year after and another 5 the year after that. When are we going to sell them all? Like, and where are we going to loan them all? You can only send 3 to Strasbourg. You can only send 7 across Europe. And like, how many Championship and Premier League clubs and League One clubs do you think will take players of us? Like, no, it ain't for me, man. Especially, like I say, with the whole, like, taking the subsidized club coach travel away and then doing this the day after. It's just a mess for me. Aaron, where do you stand on all this?
I like I said in the group when I sent it, I don't understand the plan. Like, it's just you're signing child after child after child, and then some of them aren't even coming right now. They're some of them are staying at their clubs and then coming in 2024 or 2025, and it's like, what is the need for all of this shit? Like, I get that you might see a talent that you like the look of, but there's only so many of these that you can keep doing. Like, most of these players, I guarantee you, some of these will never see play for Chelsea. They will never play for Chelsea. They'll keep going on loan, and then just get sold. And it's like, what is the point? Like, I fail to understand it. I don't know whether you can put some rationale into my head, but for me, it just seems stupid. It seems very unnecessary. Like, one or two or a few, fair enough. When you're going for a new youngster every couple of weeks, it's like, what is the need?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sorry, I've just been slightly distracted by a tweet from Pice. I haven't seen Fabrizio tweet this, so I'm not sure how you would have seen it, Pice. But yeah, Fabrizio says, keep an eye on Conor Gallagher. And this is what annoys me already again. Why? Now, he's just become an actually good footballer. He started 4 out of 4 games this season, and now we're like selling him. Or
the
maybe.
first 2 replies, just honestly, that describes Chelsea as a fan base. Look at that. That's so funny.
It is funny, but like, he started 4 games in a row. Who else is fucking starting? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not
right. It's you know what I don't like. I just, even if we accept the bid, would he even go to Tottenham? I don't understand. Like, this is just no. I don't want to see him at Tottenham. Like, I don't like. He doesn't deserve to be sold, right? If he's sold, I don't want it to be Tottenham. Like, it's just weird. No, like, and who knows? He might actually improve them more. Like, now he's doing well. Like, I don't know. I'd rather sell him to someone else if we're gonna sell him. It's just weird.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, Aaron, where do you sit on this?
Like, the problem is, if this was end of last season during the summer before we'd seen anybody kick a ball for the new season, I would have said, you know what, as long as it's not Spurs, go for it, sell him.
Yeah, but he will go to Spurs if he's going anywhere, let's be honest.
Yeah, no. So what I'm saying is the whole idea of selling him, I would have been open to. Definitely not Spurs. If they don't want to ever do business with us, why should we do business with them? That's the mindset I have. Until Daniel Levy doesn't think, okay, it's all right to sell a player to Chelsea like Mudryk or Harry Kane or whoever. Obviously, they're both gone now. They don't play for Spurs, but at the time, it would have been like, okay, we know that they're just not going to deal with us, so what's the point? But now they think they can suddenly waltz over and get Gallagher, who has been actually he's been one of the best performers this season so far. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. If it was a different club before a ball had been kicked, I would have been open to it, but now I'm not. And especially when you look at our midfield, granted, we've got a lot of bodies, but in terms of performances, he's been one of the better performers. So why would you then suddenly get rid of him once he's doing well? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, they get rid of him because they get an offer for big money, and they have clearly showed many times that as soon as a big offer comes in for an academy player, they're like, yes, go, please, because profit. But yeah, spend a few more 20 million on some 10-year-olds that will never play for us. That's great. I'm not a fan, especially if it's the Spurs. Just don't like it. I just don't like, because didn't Fabrizio say like 2 or 3 days ago, or was it Fabrizio that said, yeah, a few people at like Chelsea are thinking like, yeah, we should keep him to like, first of all, he's doing well now, but also, we want to show the academy that, you can actually be here if you make it, and not just get sold. And now this happens again. I mean, it's just a mess, and I don't like it. And one thing I actually forgot about to bring up, other than this Brazilian 12-year-old, the whole Trevor Chalobah to Bayern Munich also seems to be off, because Bayern only want a loan and we do not. Again, thoughts, Aaron?
I mean, it's clear from sort of the way we've gone about in the market signing Disasi that Chalobah's place is no longer here. So he definitely does need to go elsewhere to seek out some football. But I'm not being funny. If Bayern don't want to cough up the money and they want a loan, like, we should not be pushed over in order to just give them what they want. So if they're not going to give us what we want in terms of money, then just don't deal with them. Simple as.
Yeah. But obviously the problem is Poch wants a smaller squad, right? So it's like the mix of the two, isn't it?
Well, tough shit. You're going to have to deal with it, because we're not just going to be pushed over and give him out on loan for no
reason. Exactly. No, I agree with that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is Poche only for a year? No. So, like,
At the end of the day,
realistically, with how
Pochettino-
many players we signed and how many players we had last season, it was unlikely to get down to a 23-man squad, including
But
goalkeepers.
Poch
this
knew
summer.
what he was walking into is when he signed up to be the manager. He knew exactly how big the squad was. He knew obviously we needed to get rid of players, but he's not stupid. He knows you can't just get rid of every single player that you don't want to be here overnight. Sometimes it takes a window, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3. It's just not just an overnight job.
Exactly. Pice, where do you stand on this?
Well, I mean, we disagree because you replied to me earlier saying, we need 5 centre backs.
I mean,
for me,
bro, let me just ask you this question: were you terrified when you thought Colwill was injured yesterday?
no, because I didn't
Knowing
realise
that we only would have 2 fit centre backs then.
Actually, no, because I thought he was just coming off a rest.
All right, but okay.
Petrified.
But the others that were terrified, if Colwill picked up an injury yesterday, we would have 2 fit centre backs. 2.
No, but that's so hypothetical. It's like
No, he didn't hypothetical. He literally walked off and he got a knock. You were just lucky it wasn't worse.
No, but it's you're literally planning a squad on in case there's injuries. Like I know
you
we have a
need
lot of
to.
injuries.
Why do you think we signed Malagusto, bro?
Yeah, but we have 2 right backs, so that's different. Like we have him,
but-
and like we need we don't need Chalobah to stay. We need him to go because we've got plenty of other centre backs.
I mean, with Humphreys, I agree that we have enough centre backs. Don't get me wrong, by the way. Like I think it just needs to be 5. I don't necessarily say it needs to be Chalobah as the 5th. I think Humphreys being the 5th is sufficient. But I think you need 5, especially when one of them is 39. And
yeah, but he never
2
gets
others
injured.
are the most injury-prone players you've ever seen in your life.
Silva never gets injured, and he's our best defender. So
Yeah, I know, but he's still 39, so can't play every game.
yeah, but we play 1 game a week. So
But
it's
we
like
don't play 1 game a week unless we get knocked out by Brighton. We will have that midweek game, then we will have midweek games, then we will have midweek FA Cup games, we will have midweek league games.
I mean, maybe you're right. I just don't see Chalobah playing at all this season. Like I see him as a situation like Cucurella where he doesn't play, and then we have to revisit the situation in January. So just take a loan and then go with it, or just get an option to buy. I'm sure they do an option to buy, but we want a permanent sale or an obligation, and buying no. So
yeah, because we don't see the benefit in not having him if he's not going to help us on the books right now. That's the idea, Jan.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
and I'm
mind
aware,
saying.
but this is not an opinion I have had now, by the way. I always thought for a back 4, for 2 centre backs, you need 5 centre backs because you want 2 for rotation and 1 in case of injury. I've always felt that.
I'm just worried about internal problems and Poch not being happy with the size of the squad and that type of thing.
But even when you go back to 2004, we had 5 centre backs. Do you know what I mean? Oh, Aaron, I'm not sure what your mic is doing, but it's making weird sounds. I'm not sure if you.
I'll mute it. I'll mute it when I'm not talking.
All right. Oh, good. Yeah, I understand, and it's not like I think it's an outrageous opinion to think 4 is enough. I just think 5 is better because, I can't just sit here and pretend the last 3 or 2 seasons, when this season already, haven't happened with permanent injuries for everyone. I can't just sit here and say, yeah, we are now not going to have injuries anymore. The likelihood is we will, because otherwise we wouldn't have had so for 3 seasons straight. So that's just how I look at this. But hey, if he's not,
you're probably right. You're probably right, but I just.
But like I say, Humphreys.
Is there even a right or wrong with this? It's kind of you basically predicting whether we get an injured centre back or not. Is basically what we're predicting.
I just want to be prepared in case we do, rather than anything, especially with.
But then is that fair
Reece
to the
James
player,
being
though?
injured so much, right? As he is, Malagusto can't play every other game either if Reece James is permanently injured. So then Chalobah can also fill in at right back when necessary. It's not like he's only playing a centre back. Do you know what I mean? But I agree with you that it would make sense to let him go now if we got money, but I don't think we should do it for the sake of it, even with a loan plus option. I think it's obviously I think you should have 5 centre backs anyway, but even if you think you should have 4, having 5 is not enough. It's not a squad problem, in my opinion. But obviously, everyone is entitled to their own opinion.
We probably will get injuries, so it'll probably be fine in the end. But I just don't like on the surface of it having 3 left backs, 5 centre backs, or maybe 6 centre backs. I don't know. Just on paper, it doesn't look great, but how it could work out is probably a lot better than it looks on paper. Is basically what maybe will happen.
I hear that, but like I say, do you want another loan? That would be our 7th international loan. That means we can't send any of the others on international loan. What happens to David Washington? What happens to, Humphrey? What happens to all of these lot? Like, would I rather, like, if I had to pick, would I rather have Chalobah or Humphreys as the backup centre back?
I want to make sure. I want to make sure that Poch has the squad size that he asked for. Is what I want to make sure. Like that should be the ultimate goal here. Like we've had a whole summer to sort this out, and now we're going to say, "Oh, sorry, mate, you've got 4 extra players than you want." Like it's not great, is it?
No, I agree with that, but I don't think either Gallagher or Chalobah are the two that are the problem here. If that makes sense, like. Get rid of Humphreys.
Not problems. It's just
no. But are the ones that are too much? You know, like there's others that should be let go of before that, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
agree. I also just think like on the player, like I wonder what Chalobah's thinking. Like, you know, like is he? I know he's been happy to play this role, but like there's got to be a point where he gets annoyed himself and like, right,
absolutely. But then find a club that wants you permanently, innit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's obviously the problem. Because of Premier League, because of our spending, we will not be willing to sell him for cheap. And other than the big clubs, no one can afford him for expensive money. So for a lot of money, I guess. It's a difficult... I mean, HM thinks he's the smart ass of the century here. Poch wants a 22-man squad, but let's listen to you guys and go with a 30-man squad. First of all, we don't have a 30-man squad. Second of all, I'm just saying have 5 centre-backs. And third of all, Gallagher started every of our 4 games. So clearly Gallagher ain't the one...
Fourth of all, didn't I literally just say I want to give Poch the squad size he wants?
I think he's more going at me than at you, but
okay. To you guys, what the hell? I'm literally backing what
but like I said, Poch likes Gallagher, but you're like, get rid of Poch, get rid of Gallagher immediately because Poch wants a smaller squad. Yeah, but he also wants Gallagher. So which one is more important then? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, Aaron is just resetting his phone. We'll have the last conversation. I want to round this one out. It's been a long one already. I mean, we're not in the Champions League. I was going to quickly touch on the Champions League groups, but let's leave that one out. The one last thing I want to touch on is the England squad, because Levi Colwill got his first call-up, so congratulations to him. But Raheem Sterling's been left out. Pies, you're English. You're an England fan. Thoughts?
It's just, it's so funny because even when Sterling plays shit for club, he's always good for England. So, like, generally, Sterling has been like the mainstay. Him and Kane are like the main staplemates over the last few years for us. And Sterling pretty much always plays well for England. So I don't understand. Like, how do you pick him when he plays shit for Chelsea or Man City, but then not pick him when he literally is on good form? That makes no sense whatsoever. And Southgate is a clown. I've wanted him to go for like 2 or 3 years. Southgate just reminds me of Tottenham. Like we get somewhere and then he just bottles it at the end. Like it's always the same with us. Like seriously, but it's just an idiot. And he picks like Calvin Phillips all the time. He doesn't play for Man City. He picks Jordan Henderson. Like, what the hell is this? But on a selfish standpoint, it's good for us because I think it makes Sterling probably more motivated and pissed off now to play even better and be like, you know, show you, like, I'm going to show you type thing. And,
I hope
you know, like, yeah, I think that could be the only positive of it. And obviously, he plays less games, so less injuries. But it's just like, what a weirdo, man. Like, honestly, why? The one time he's on form in the last few months, and you think, oh yeah, you know what, I leave him out. Like, dumb.
Yeah,
very dumb.
Exactly. Aaron, let's see if your microphone works. But your thoughts on Raheem Sterling being left out of the England squad?
Let's shut the mic work first.
It's fine.
Yeah, Southgate's a fucking buffoon. We've known this for a very long time. Like he's just very stupid, honestly. Like I literally ran through the whole squad and I sent them messages like, you've left out Nick Pope for Sam Johnston when Nick Pope's had a great
that's outrageous as well, by the way. That's outrageous.
Team to top 4. Took his team to the top 4. He's going to be playing in the Champions League this year. You've left out Raheem Sterling when he's been on probably the best form he's been in since he joined Chelsea. He's been on fire since the start of the season. You've taken Maguire, you've taken Calvin Phillips, and you've taken Jordan Henderson, but you've left people like James Ward-Prowse, as I said, Raheem Sterling out. It's so stupid, honestly. The guy is an absolute clown, and I can't wait until the day he's gone. He just annoys me so much. That's why I just don't tune into England games anymore, because back in the day, it'd be like, yeah, you actually have a reason to watch it, and like when you're in competitive competition, but it was just something so stupid that you just like, what is the point?
No, exactly. And I mean, if you want to top it off and want to even go into more detail, like if you remember at the World Cup, Sterling played the first game, then he left the camp because his home in England got broken into while his family were there. Then he was away with that for a little while, came back like a couple of days before the quarterfinal, which England obviously ended up losing. So essentially at the World Cup, because of his house got broken into while his family was there, that's kind of why, in a way, he lost his spot. Now, obviously, the March international break happened too, but, you know, England qualify for everything without trying anyway because of how easy the groups are for them, especially in this case being Euros, right? So essentially, he had to leave the England squad because his house got broken into. That's what made him leave his spot. And now, even though he's in good form, you're leaving him out. Like, to me, that is just horrible and dreadful man management. I know that's the one thing that people usually give Southgate credit for, but like, he called up Jordan Henderson, who went to Saudi Arabia. I know it's a different position. I'm aware of that. But you're not calling up Raheem Sterling. Obviously, he has a lot of players in those positions, and he called up Eze as well, which, yeah, you could argue young talent rather than Raheem Sterling. But Raheem Sterling, alongside Harry Kane, has probably been England's best player for the last decade. Like, I know that only means so much because England, for the most part, have failed miserably, other than at the Euros and to some extent at the World Cup 2018 and to some extent at this World Cup, this past World Cup. But, nah. This is just poor. This is, in my opinion, is very, very poor. But yeah, I think, guys, we're going to leave it at that. Let's leave out the Champions League talk. We might touch on it tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be back tomorrow for a deadline day stream. Even though we'll almost certainly only be outgoings. Hopefully not Conor Gallagher for me at this point, especially not hope Conor Gallagher to Spurs. Now, if Conor Gallagher went to, I don't know what's a random example. If Conor Gallagher went to Bayern Munich for 50 million now, I would still not like it, but I would be able to handle that. If he goes to Spurs, I would not be able to handle that. If you're trying to say something now? Sorry.
Oh yeah, no. I said if you move to Bayern for that, it's not ideal, but it's acceptable.
Yeah,
but Spurs is no go.
But even then, I'm like, okay, so we have all sorts of midfielders, and not one of them has a goal threat. Is that ideal? No. I would like to have a couple of midfielders that have a bit of a goal threat about them. Conor Gallagher, but. Yeah, it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round this one out. It's been a long one. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. I haven't told you today, but subscribe if you haven't already. Well, I have told you on screen, but subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be massively appreciated. Hit that like button on your way out. It really helps me spread these streams and the channel out to more people. So it's just one click of a button and doesn't cost you any money or any time, and I'd massively appreciate that. Please check out Pice on his website, londonsfirst.com, and of course his Twitter as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.